Boom. I think that's it. I think we're live.
We live? All right,
I
cool.
think
Are we
we're
live?
here.
Hey, everybody. This is David, High Shelf Gaming. Tonight, we begin the epic Odyssey of AGON by John Harper and Steve?
Sean
Nittner?
Nittner.
Sean Nittner. Sean Nittner.
So
Awesome.
close.
Awesome. I will get better at that. So this is one of those games that we just wrapped up or still wrapping up a big Blades in the Dark thing. So we all kind of fell in love with John Harper. And then he came out with AGON, which is we're gonna get to play this here. And now there's a whole bunch of different. Was it paragons or what are they calling it?
So they took the system of Aegon and they called it Paragon, right? Which is that general idea of it, and then
Right.
built a bunch of play sets. And so they're meant to be like almost like you use the Aegon book with the Paragon play sets. You know, like you still need the Aegon book or whatever, but then you
Right.
can have the play sets and there are different settings and different things going on. A lot of cool stuff. It's like Surge Protectors, where he plays Transformers, Chamber, which is like an X-Files thing. There's some pirate ones out now, and
The
Storm
space
Furies.
combat one is very
Yeah,
interesting.
Storm Furies is like fighter pilots. There's a lot of them out. Like they just keep every time I check the website, there's more.
Yeah.
Like people are just putting these things out because they're like, 12, 18 pages, give or take, depending on how much you want to change for just a new setting kind of deal. And then yeah, like that's it. Because you got most of the rules. All the rules are in this book, and I'll do the customary,
Petting of
Gotta
the
give
book.
it a little
caress
rub.
of the book.
I got the soft cover. So
But yeah, so that's that's the Paragon family of games, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. So this is going to be several episodes every Saturday. And we're going to be playing as demigods who are doing like the Odyssey or the Iliad, right? War is over. Got to get home. There's going to be challenges along the way. And the gods have the things they need us to take care of, whether we agree to that or not.
You guys were on your way home, and then all of the gods were like, "Hey, actually, there's like a lot of like strife and just like bad stuff happening out here on all these islands you've never heard of or seen. So we're just gonna like trap you in this demi-plane of mythical islands, and you just have to solve all these problems, and then maybe we'll let you go home." It's a pretty
maybe if it all works out. If you do,
if you make it.
Yeah. So this is exciting. I'm really glad that you're running this. Ethan, of course, is running tonight. And we also, of course, have Mike, who is above me in the thing, and other Mike, who is across from me in the thing, and Heather, who is on the far side. And yeah, we're gonna get right into this. Only other HSG announcements I've got is when is our next game? Are we doing Blades next Wednesday? Is that our very next game that we're doing?
Okay. Our epilogue.
And then Mass Effect on Friday.
That's right. Yeah. So Blades on Wednesday, Mass Effect on Friday, AGON again on Saturday.
you guys finished Blades.
Yeah.
And we have the epilogue.
Yeah, we're doing our epilogues. We're riding off into the sunset is not the right word. There's no sun.
No, yeah.
The moonlight.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna be telling this tale of what happens to our characters having completed everything that they set out to do in Duskfall, and survived. They've made it. They lived. So
And
now
then
they get
some.
to have now they get to have a retirement of some kind. We get to describe that, and then
we have a really nice retirement. I think all of us own small businesses.
Which I'm into that. I'm really into that for sure.
Maribel owns Duskfall.
Yes, and we bequeath to you all of Duskfall.
Thank you. It's what I wanted from the beginning.
That's right. So yeah, very excited to do that on Wednesday. And I think right after that, Mike, we're going to get right into a whole nother game the following Wednesday, right? So we got some cool shit coming. So Wednesdays are still going to be a thing for us. Don't keep showing up on Wednesdays.
And that's more for our like mental health, I think. Taking that nice Wednesday night break in the middle of the week. I think that's
truth.
It's always just very nice.
Truth. All right. Well, Ethan, I'm gonna hand over to you, man. Let's get into the world of AGON and meet our demigods.
Okay, great. So this is AGON by Sean Nittner and John Harper. It is a game where you play as epic mythological heroes on their way home from a great war. I think it's very Iliad Odyssey kind of deal. You're Odysseus. You're on your way home, and then there are these mists that just surround your ship, and sort of just you're lost. You know, the stars are different, everything's different, and you're lost in this strange mythical sea. And then these islands just keep appearing every so often, and you know that there's going to be trouble because that's kind of what the gods told you. And so we'll start by making our characters, which does not take a very long time at all, as you all will see soon. So the way it works is you start on the character sheet. Everybody has an epithet and a name, and those are the first two things that you're going to pick out for your character. So your epithet is the thing that kind of everyone knows your hero for. And you know, they're all like these good adjective kind of things, like clever-eyed, or lithe-limbed, or lion-hearted, many-wayed, things like that. And there's a list of those, I believe, even in the like player resources, or in the book as well. I think the page with all the lists of stuff is like 140 something.
Yeah, even the little player cheat sheet you handed over has like I don't know, 20 to choose from.
Yeah, I think that's got all the lists, or you can come up with your own. But yeah, so that'll you know get us started, and then there's your name. Your name doesn't really you don't have to pick from the list or anything, right? But both of those are going to have a value of a d6. There should be a little drop down box on Roll20 to give you your die size. And both of those things will increase as you gain experience in different ways. There's a few types of experience in the game. There's glory, which you earn through contests. And then you also gain experience for moving down your fate track, which is kind of like your health bar, if you want to think of it that way. And anytime you go into agony, which is why they named the game AGON or AGON. I hear people say AGON sometimes. I like AGON. I think it sounds nice. But yeah, AGON for agony. Anytime you go into agony, you'll go down your fate track into whatever fate the gods and the fates have in store for you, and you'll also gain advancements that way.
Beautiful.
But yeah, those are the first two things you're going to pick: your epithet and your name. And once everybody has those, if they want to share them, we won't be able to have them on the overlay tonight, but we'll have them for next week.
Sure.
And they should be different, right? The epithets should hopefully
Yeah,
be
so
different.
all the epithets should be different. So if you see one you really want, call it out now. Call dibs. Get the dibs out.
I would like to take iron-minded.
Iron-minded, great.
We can make our own, you said?
Yeah, you can just come up with one, but it should be that like hyphenated adjective, basically.
Great.
There's actually there was released a character sheet for a like Norse mythology version of this game called Sagas, and they replace epithet with kennings, which are the same thing, but they're these like 2-word, which I just love. I love kennings. That was my favorite part of the like Beowulf unit of literature in high school, was learning about kennings and stuff like that.
That's cool.
If it's cool, I would like loud roaring.
Loud roaring. Yep, that's a good one. That's a classic.
Such a good one. I love it so much.
It's
Until
very
I
clear.
knew that it had to be hyphenated, I was going to go with the bold, but
The bold,
loud roaring also works.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have a preference?
I'm still trying to pick, but I'm kind of leaning Many Wade.
Many Wade is good. Many
Yeah.
Wade is good.
I was thinking of Great Hunter.
Great Hunter. Okay.
I'm kind of torn between Great Hunter and War Leader. But I think Great Hunter is more where I want to go with this person.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. So everybody's got their epithets. They're all different. That is a D6 currently. Your epithet is a D6. And basically the way these work, is that anytime we do a contest, if you can find some way to incorporate your epithet, then you get to roll that die. You get to add that to your dice pool, because you will form a pool of dice, roll them all, and then keep your like 2 highest. Which Roll20 will do all that lovely stuff for us. It'll just happen, just be there. And what's everybody thinking on names? They have a big list, and they even have like, oh, if you want to adjust these names, you can do it this way. But what's everybody thinking?
So I assume that the names can't be gods, right?
They
like
cannot.
I can't pick like Zeus or some crap like that, right?
Right. That would probably be. Zeus probably wouldn't be a fan of that, I would think.
Right.
Yeah.
So looking at the list on here, the god that I was thinking of, and I actually don't know if they're a god, is not listed here. I was thinking of going with Helios.
Okay.
Is that kosher or is that bad?
Yeah, so the way it works is on your sheets you'll have like a list of gods, and they're like domain basically,
Right.
which is like the thing that they're most well known for. Typically, if you pick one from that list for your favored god, which we'll get down to, or honored god, which we'll get down to in a moment, that like doubles the amount of divine favor you can gain with that god, because you can get 4 instead of just 2. But if you pick one off the list, that kind of cuts that in half. You just get 2. Is kind of how I tend to do that. But that's totally fine to introduce another god to the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will be Hilarion.
Hilarion. Great. That's good. That's a good one.
The loud roaring.
Loud roaring Hilarion.
It's going to be a loud night in the house this evening.
Makaria.
Makaria. Okay.
Hey, Cal, thanks, man. Thanks for the sub, dude. You're the best.
Take Phaidros.
Phaidros. Like it. So we have Hilarion. What was yours, Heather?
Makaria. Makaria.
Okay.
Mac.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to add these into the Legend Keeper, actually. So we have loud, roaring, Hilarion. Perfect. And I'll figure out all the...
Where are you adding those? Because I want to...
Under Heroic Legends is the section I've made for everybody's like stuff they're doing.
And everyone has their character sheet pulled up, right?
Yep.
In Roll20.
Yep.
Okay.
I was thinking about making a little character for myself or I guess adding notes and stuff in Legend Keeper.
Yeah, and if I can't figure out how to do that, we are on the air. I'll figure out how to do that after for like notes and things like that.
Yeah, no
what was your epithet, Heather?
Iron-minded.
Iron-minded. Makaria. Makaria. That's right. Yeah, because the on is supposed to be like it's one of the things you can do to make any of the names like masculine or whatever. Okay, and we have Mini Wade Phaidros. Correct?
Yep.
Phaidros. And Great Hunter. What name have we chosen, David?
Okay. I was in my head thinking it was going to be Helios because it was not on the list in here, but I will come up with a different name.
Yeah, so your name is just personal to your hero. It doesn't need to be like referential to anything.
Yep. Okay, gotcha. How about... Oh, I'll just pick out of this list then. Oh no, it can't be Xenon, can it?
It can.
It can.
It certainly can.
But that's like an element. All right, I'm gonna do it. It's an element that like really gets to me. I love it. So my little chemistry heart is all flitter. So it's got to be Xenon.
All right. So we've got loud roaring Hilarion, iron minded Makaria, Mini Wade Phaidros, and Great Hunter Xenon.
Yep.
Excellent. That's a strong group. That's a strong sounding group. Could be some heroics happening.
Yep.
Okay. So both of those dice should be d6 for those two things. The next thing that you're going to do is record your lineage. So this is important because this is where you decide if you are a demigod or a mortal hero, which has a small mechanical effect, but not. It just changes kind of how your bonds work, basically, at the beginning of the game. So at this point, you will name the god that you are descended from, if you're a demigod, or you will name a notable mortal ancestor. So it might be Daedalus or Theseus or some other well-known Greek kind of individual, I guess.
Never Theseus then.
And then what you'll do with that is once you've chosen your ancestor, you'll pick the domain that kind of most fits with their legacy. And then that domain will be boosted up to a D8. Yes.
So is this where I would put like Artemis would be my
right.
pick?
So yeah, if you want to be descended from Artemis, that's where you'll put Artemis.
Okay.
So that's your parent, not your patron.
Can your
Yeah,
parents
which could
They're
be
two
not be
different
the
things.
same?
They can be the same. They don't have to be. So you can have your parent and then your honored god. You might have a
Gotcha.
different.
Gotcha. So like Apollo could be my patron.
Yeah, like your
my
honored god, right? The one that
Mhm.
you pay homage to, whereas you're actually descended from Artemis. Like both of
Right.
those things can be true at the same time. Right.
Wow. So I could like be born of somebody, but not really honor them. I honor someone else.
Right.
Yep.
Say, like, for example, and I don't know where I'm getting this example from, but say you're a child of Zeus. But the ways of Zeus just don't really vibe with you a whole lot.
Right.
And so you're more war-minded, and so your honored god is Ares. You're still descended from Zeus. You still have, a relationship with Zeus, but
You're still chill with Zeus.
chill with Zeus, but
You're chill with
it's
Zeus.
a little different. But whatever lineage you choose, you'll pick one of the 4 domains, which are arts and oration, craft and reason, resolve and spirit, and blood and valor. And you'll raise one of those to a D8. The rest of them will be D6s. And those are the different kind of contests we can have. So arts and oration might be, telling tales at a feast, or having a contest to sculpt the greatest statue or the most beautiful statue or something like that, or having a debate. Anything that deals with art or oration, it is pretty well named in that respect. Craft and reason is anytime you're relying on your wits or your mental faculties. Blood and valor is fighting or athleticism. And then resolve and spirit is anytime you have to withstand something, or anytime magic is kind of involved. So if you're, using your arcane abilities, or calling on the sort of like magic potential of the gods to achieve something, you might use resolve and spirit. So pick whichever one of those you want your character to be really good at. It doesn't really matter if the group is balanced. It might help if somebody's good at each of the different ones, but it's not by any means a necessity.
So I went daughter of Persephone.
Okay.
She, her.
Right.
Honored god is Demeter.
Okay.
And resolve and spirit is my thing.
Cool.
And then I took one bond with Persephone.
Great. Yep. Cool. So you're a little ahead of the game. Look at you. You've played this game before.
It's like I've played this game before.
Yeah. So who is everybody's lineage? And this is also where you record your character's pronouns. So it'll be, son of, daughter of, child of, right? Depending on what you want your character's pronouns to be. So it'll be something of somebody important. So in Makaria's case, daughter of Persephone. Is anybody else? Anybody else chosen their spicy mythological lineage?
I'm gonna go son of Ares.
Son of Ares. Good.
He is a follower of Hermes. He is quite daring.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I just write down honor god Hermes.
Yep, and we'll get to what that does in a second because you do stuff with that.
I skipped. Sorry.
Yeah,
And I
I
just
skipped
click
way
the 2
ahead.
boxes.
Yeah, you can click the 2 boxes. We'll get to the boxes in a second. But what is your domain that you're raising up to a D8
Oh,
from your lineage? If it's Aries, it's probably Blood and Valor.
Probably. I mean, let me see.
Maybe
Resolve
Craft and
Spirit,
Reason?
willpower, endure.
Well, the lineage determines your favored domain, kind of. So
Yeah,
that'd have to come from
he's
the
not
Aries
well
part.
known. He is not well known for thinking things through. He is
Hmm.
the bold, and we are doing this now. He will become the future god of Leroy Jenkins. That's
Okay.
what this is. This is
That's gonna work very well for a lot of these islands. All right. What is Mike or David? What are your lineages?
I was gonna go with son of Demeter,
Okay.
and honored god would be Artemis.
Okay. And what is the domain that you're choosing for Demeter?
What do we have out there so far?
So far we have Blood and Valor, I believe, and
Resolve
Heather-
and Spirit.
Resolve and Spirit. So
Okay. Then I will do Craft and Reason.
okay.
And that goes to a D8.
Yeah, that'll go to a D8, and the rest of them should be D6s.
Do I get to call you Uncle?
Yeah. That'd be fun.
Yeah, things get complicated with all of these divine family trees.
Mm-hmm.
More like a bonsai tree.
See, then the best plan is just stay out of it. Like, this is why I have Phaidros, the son of Nauplius.
Who's Nauplius?
In Greek mythology, Nauplius is the name of one or more mariner heroes.
Oh, great.
So they're whether or not they should be considered the same person or 2 or possibly 3 distinct persons is not entirely clear.
Oh, I love that.
But, yeah.
And so what is the domain that you've elevated?
I have not chosen a domain yet. It's like a whole like I was googling like ancient Greek seafarers.
Right.
So like honored god is going to be Poseidon.
So your domain, I think, being
Base-
like a seafarer, that sounds like either Resolve and Spirit for being able to withstand the sea, or even Craft and Reason to kind of navigate storms and things like that.
If you wanted to go Craft and Reason, I'm okay going Arts and Oration so that we have
Um,
coverage. If that matters.
It matters a little bit, right? Because if there are contests, you typically want somebody who has a D8 in that, just
Right.
to maximize your chances. But it doesn't really. It's not gonna break the game if
Right.
you don't have total coverage.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just letting you know, Mike. I'm willing to make a shift if you wanted the Craft and Reason spot.
I was kind of looking at Resolve and Spirit. So
So the only thing you guys don't have is Arts and Oration, which, maybe you guys just don't have time for art. Who's got time for that? And
Well,
orating.
none of us.
Hilarion has no time for art.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like everybody's chosen an honored god as well. So what you'll do is you'll write out your honored god in that little blank, and you will mark 2 divine favor with that god, which are the 2 little boxes next to them. You have 3 more points of divine favor to distribute among all of the gods.
And could I load up more in Artemis?
You can do that, yeah. But any of them, and that's just saying that you have a little bit of favor from each of these. So that just basically means that these gods favor you in some way. So you've done things that pleased them in the past, maybe, kind of deal, and that means you can call on them to help you in contests. And it's actually the only type of die that isn't just kind of part of the dice pool. It's just a plus a d4 to whatever your number is after you've finished adding up your dice pool, which is nice. Because, sometimes the difficulty comes up, the target number is like a 16, which is not very possible when you can only roll at a max of 14. You know? Sometimes you just continue to have target numbers of 15 for an entire session, which did happen one time when I ran this game. Just constant 15s, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna use some resources, I guess.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So do we share what we do here? Does that not matter?
Yeah, everybody can just go ahead and say who they've chosen to have divine favor with. I think that's
Okay.
that's appropriate.
I went with cunning, or sorry, Hera, Hephaestus.
Mm-hmm.
Hephaestus.
Hephaestus or Hephaestus, yeah.
Yep, Hephaestus, and then Hecate.
Nice.
I went with Hecate, Poseidon, and Athena.
Great. And those like words, those like, fortitude or sorcery and stuff like that, that's what that god is kind of known for. That's their like virtue or their thing that they're kind of known. And so anytime you call on them for divine favor, you want to incorporate sort of that into your description. Like, how did you embody the fortitude of Poseidon in this contest, since you're calling on his power?
Cool.
I went with Demeter for conviction,
Mm-hmm.
Poseidon for fortitude, and Ares for ferocity.
Yep, that all tracks. That sounds very appropriate.
And I have gone with Zeus for authority, Hecate for insight, and Apollo for knowledge.
Great.
Awesome.
All right. So the next thing we do is we need to get like a picture of what your heroes look like. And so to do that, you all will record your style. And there are a number of kind of lists of things to help you develop your style, which I believe are also in the player kit. Yeah, I think I see that. Yeah, style. So the way I like to do it is choose sort of one from each of those categories, because that gives us a very complete picture. So you'll choose an animal aspect, the type of eyes your character has, their form, their hair, and then what their armor looks like, and then what their favorite weapon is. And then that gives us kind of a lot of information about, what this hero looks like, how they kind of carry themselves, and things of that nature. The animal aspect kind of tells us a bit about their personality as well. If you choose the bull, then you know that this person is very large, very broad, and perhaps, even stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, the eagle, they have an angular face and, probably sharp eyes.
And goat-like would mean that I could eat anything.
Well, I mean, you
You
probably
can't
do.
take
Climb
them.
rocks.
You probably have a little beard. You got a little beard going on.
Your eyes are like slitted the wrong direction.
Yeah, some funky looking eyes. Yeah. You have maybe a bleedish voice.
Everybody constantly wants to make you into curry, except the person who would be making the curry.
Right.
Yes.
That's correct.
All right. Well, I've got a pretty good idea of what my guy looks like, so
Okay.
so I can run with that. Animal aspect, we're going to go the bull.
Okay.
And eyes, we're going to go bright.
Mhm.
Form, we'll say brawny. He is a big mountain of a man. He is round and just he's a big guy. Hair, he is, I don't know what we're gonna go with here. We just say hairy. He is. There's hair on top of his hair. Like,
Gotcha. Perfect.
he's the sort that like you think he took off his wool his fur overcoat and he's just actually didn't. He's completely, they're like put some clothes on. Kind of.
Sometimes maybe behind his back people call him the Minotaur.
Yeah. There might have been a few other animals used to describe him, but nobody ever not loudly.
Right.
So
His face.
Not to his face. Not
And
to
what
his
is
face.
what does Hilarion's armor look like, and what is his favorite weapon?
Armor. Hilarion.
There are options on there that are minimal and none, if you want to go that route of just Conan style.
I think Hilarion has these two huge bracers that just like they were like collars for oxes or something, just then that's what he goes with. And, whatever he happens to, because, they're not really going to make plate mail for this guy, right? I mean, that's not happening. He is, we'll change that back to, he's going to be the huge. He is a mountain. He is a big, happy mountain of a man.
It's a happy mountain of a man. That was good to hear, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and
Well, you don't want to see him when he's not.
Yeah, no.
That's right.
And I think under weapon, we'll go with club.
Club.
He goes with
All
club.
right.
He tried to do the sword thing, but it limits you. You can only go stabby, or cut down this way. Club, it doesn't matter which direction you're swinging or how you're going. You're hitting somebody in the right way.
That's right. We got a veritable Heracles here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a
Heracles 2.0.
Yeah,
Upgraded.
Only the cuddly, if he gets drunk, he's a lot more cuddly, kind of.
Didn't kill his family when he was drunk.
He's big. He's a big fluffy. So where do I specifically write all that down?
So there's a spot on the character sheet, I believe,
Style
kind of
and
at the
notes.
bottom where it says like style and notes, and so you can just write out, those adjectives or what have you.
All right.
Has anyone else finished their style?
I know. Many-Wade Phaidros is raven-like with clear eyes, a lanky form, cropped hair, battered armor, and his favorite weapon is a spear and shield. It's kind of.
Yeah. So, you were going to say something else?
Oh no, just kind of living on scrap on boats, right? Like, don't have time to take care of all this armor stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe it's got some like sort of kind of like corrosion almost from like sea salt, like the salt's kind of eaten into it and stuff like that's kind of etched.
Right, like there's nowhere to reforge it when we'll burn the boat down if we try to start a fire to like be there's like a big dent in the middle, like the chest plate kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to point out that Hilarion is while he might be mighty as Hercules in strength and stature, he's quite a bit more round than a normal Hercules would be.
Gotcha.
Very, very round.
Perhaps the epithet should be Boulder-Like in that case.
Boulder-Like would be the perfect one. Was that one of them?
It's not, but you can make it one.
It is now.
Boulder-Like. Because that's and so the thing with the epithet is anytime you can incorporate it into your description, you can use it. So Boulder-Like, that could mean momentum, that could mean strength, that could mean endurance, any of these things. So boulder is many things. It has many uses. Okay, so
you said that it had to be hyphenated, so it would
like Boulder-Like, right?
Okay, I thought it had to be two different words. Okay.
Oh no, just like some sort of description, like clever-eyed, for example, right? All right. Anybody else?
Now, if you chose clever-eyed and then you later on said like dull eyes or something like that, would be.
That just means they don't have a lot of shine to them, but you can tell that there's some mischief in there.
Okay.
But it's not like the twinkly kind of mischief. It's the like darting back and forth kind of mischief.
Sure. So yeah, I think I've got my my style and notes sorted here.
All right, tell us about Xenon.
Xenon, the Great Hunter. Great Hunter Xenon is panther-like, with piercing eyes and a rugged form. Shaved hair, so it's got that like you can see it kind of coming back, but whenever they get a chance, they shave it all back again.
Gotcha.
And then I figure decorated armor. So Xenon takes the time to, what is it? Not etch, but when you like decorate armor with like a little chisel and hammer. Etch? Maybe it is etch.
Yeah, etch works.
Engrave?
Engrave, yeah. So I figure like Xenon engraves his armor with like, moments of his life and, finery and that kind of thing. Like he's trying to tell a story with his armor. So he's always like
adding like great beasts that he's slain.
Totally.
And
yeah,
like victories
absolutely.
and things like, oh, that's great.
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely. Yeah. And then on the favored weapon, man, I'm really torn between bow and like hunting falcon.
So the thing with the favorite weapon is that doesn't limit you to only that weapon.
Okay.
Right? So you can totally have hunting falcon be your favorite weapon.
Okay.
And then also have a bow.
Okay.
Right?
Cool.
But it's like, if you got your favorite weapon as that fighting pet, I want to see that falcon.
Right.
I want to see that falcon all the time.
So that's okay, great. Good. That's what I wanted. I wanted it to be like when people look across the battlefield and they see someone with this giant bird on their shoulder or on an arm, they're like, that's Xenon. Got it. I know exactly where Xenon is. So that's what I wanted.
Now we're gonna head like the other way out of like line of
Falcon
sight.
range.
Yeah, out of falcon range, out of line of sight, because that's not where you want to be.
Perfect. That's what I wanted. I wanted to know like how to use that conflict in my head. So falcon, 100%.
Yeah, because
a big one, like a big, huge, like probably more like an eagle.
What is the falcon's name?
Yeah, falcon's name is gonna be
Flipper.
Probably like Heron or something like that.
Heron. Okay, cool. I like it. Yeah, because like the favored weapon doesn't limit you in weapons, because if you're doing a contest and you want to improvise weapons in your description or whatever, or just pick something up and use it, like you're a fantastical hero. You can just pick stuff up and use it effectively, because that's how badass you are. That's what the game's about. So that's just kind of like a lot of these things are what, when people recount your legend, what will they talk about? Right. This game is very sort of mythology minded. So it's like, these are the things that people will remember about your character. That's what we're working towards, developing your legend.
Got it. Shit, never mind. I just Googled heron. It's a stupid bird. So I will come up with something else.
Heron is a bird, yes. I have a friend who is absolutely terrified of those.
Oh, really?
Or egrets, which are like also very similar to like herons.
Like kestrels and all that kind of stuff.
How could you not know what a heron is with you being such an L5R fan?
Well, that's crane. Different.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Well, different.
Fair enough. I noted all the shit about crane, the family, but never the birds that they're associated with. So I'll come up with something else, and it won't be another bird.
Okay, I'll give you some time. Makaria.
Makaria is regal and lion-like, with calm eyes, and she's very sturdy, with dark hair that's braided in ringlets around her, just like around the crown of her head. Her armor is it's cloth that has a sheen to it. At certain times it will look dark and black and blue, and other times it'll look like green and gold.
It's like that one dress from
yes,
the memes,
but also not.
But like it looks way cooler than that. But similar effect. Right.
She's very neutral complexion, so either color looks great.
Mm-hmm.
And then her favored weapon is a staff, which she always has with her.
Great. Cool. So now we have our hero styles. So we have a good like visual image now of all these heroes as they're doing their heroics and things like that. So we have sort of introduced our heroes now. That's step 6. We've kind of already done it. We did it, one at a time. we'll get to yelling your name out and stuff. We're gonna do that a lot tonight as well, but we'll save that. So now that everybody's introduced here, we're gonna record bonds. So bonds do several things that we'll get into a little bit later when it comes up. But basically, you can use those to help each other out, to change the leader's mind, and to have someone defend you more or less. And the way that works specifically, we'll talk about later. But that's like the basic 3 uses: is to bolster you, to defend, or you can change the leader's mind by calling on a bond. So, if you are a demigod, you will record 1 bond with each of the other heroes, and then 1 bond with your parental deity. So that is most of you. The mortal heroes, so Phaidros will just record 2 bonds with every other hero. You don't have all that divine lineage kind of stuff going on, so you're better at just being like a regular person, and people appreciate that. You don't have all those,
down to earth.
Yeah, right. Your head's not up in Olympus, right? You're like, the gods. That's for other people to deal with. Just gotta stay out of it.
And so each get a bond with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then 1 with the deity from your lineage. And then Phaidros gets 2 bonds with everybody. So, and on the spot where you record that, you just name, and then there's a little counter, because you might end up with like 3 or 4 bonds with 1 hero after a certain point if things go on like that.
Yep. So on my hunting falcon, I'm thinking about the name Typhus.
Typhus, okay.
Yeah, which I think threads the needle, because I think there is like
there's Typhon, that is like this big nasty monster.
Right, and then there's like Typhoid. So I wanted to be like not either of those, but still a word.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So Typhus.
Yeah, Typhus is like the big monster that all the gods had to like team up to destroy because that's how bad it was.
Sweet.
That's deal,
yeah.
So.
That's what I want my bird to be. I want my bird to be feared by some people.
Right. Yeah.
I want them to
and it
draw
definitely
that
is when they
line.
see the claw that's like this, just kind of unfurls from that toe.
Right. Perfect. Thank you.
Cool. And so that is character creation. That's it. Once everybody's got their bonds recorded, that's it. We have characters. It's been, about 30-40 minutes.
Wow.
That's all it takes.
That is criminally short. I don't think games are supposed to allow you to do character creation in under 3 hours.
That's if it doesn't take 4.5 hours, did you really make the character?
Right, yeah.
Absolutely unnatural. And I feel wrong that I have not had to flip back and forth through multiple chapters of the book. So,
that's right.
Y'all make jokes, but you're gonna be fucked come a Monday. Monday.
I haven't even started shopping yet. Like I haven't purchased
FYI, we're not gonna be this far along on Monday for character creation and Shadowrun.
It's gonna be a hot mess.
Cool. So now that we have characters, we're gonna do one more thing. I think we're gonna dip our toes in to rolling some dice and doing a contest. And there's a very special type of contest. This is the leadership contest. The leadership contest determines who's in charge on the island. So every time you guys arrive at the island, somebody's going to be in charge. They get to decide sort of how you approach the challenges. And they also are in charge of interpreting the signs of the gods. Because not only are there problems on these islands, the gods also have opinions about those problems and have opinions on how you should solve them. And the way you get home is by appeasing their whims, their very fickle whims. They're capricious. They will often ask you for contradictory things, and it is up to the leader to figure out how to accomplish it.
Oh, I cannot wait.
It's a fun job. It's a very, very fun job. So let me see. Let's see. We'll wait till we actually roll dice to bring up the dice roller, I think. But So
Yes, Jagos, I think that we are exactly a tabletop version of Hades here.
Yep, pretty much. Which I'd be very interested to make an actual like Hades version of this with all the chthonic gods instead of the Olympian ones. I think it'd be really fun. But
yeah,
that's neither here nor there. So the way it works on my side for the leadership contest is that I will roll 2d6 plus 0. There's no strife level. We're still at C. You all are at C. And I'll keep the highest, and that'll be your target number. But I'm getting some. Is my internet being weird? Because you guys are kind
of. You're sounding great. You're looking great.
Okay. Everybody's kind of. Or a little. Oh, it says my internet connection's unstable.
Oh.
Yeah, that's.
Twitch is telling me that your bit rate is rock solid at 6 megs. So
I can't. Everyone else is slowing down.
Okay.
That's weird.
He's watching video that's coming from Ethan's computer though, so if it's slow for Ethan, it's slow to the stream, and yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's weird. Why is it doing that? Let me refresh the stream, or maybe. Okay, I'm seeing multiple frames of one mic now, and multiple frames of David. I don't know why that slowed down like that. Maybe I should close some things. Maybe I have too many things open.
Do you want to break for a minute?
Yeah, maybe. Well, I think it's better now, but it's not great.
Yeah, if you don't want to watch Twitch or whatever, I can watch Twitch.
Yeah,
for you
I'll turn that off, and we'll see if that fixes it. But I don't.
Yeah.
It hasn't really made a difference, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm watching Twitch and we're kind of dropping frames.
Yeah, like most of you guys aren't even moving for me. So okay, let's
blank.
No. Let's cut to break really quick, and we'll see if we can fix this, and then we'll just go straight from the leadership contest into the island.
Okay.
We'll just take our break a little early and then just truck on.
Awesome.
Well, of course, now that I say that, everybody's moving better, but I think we'll still cut to breaks. We'll be back in.
Had to excise the gremlins, man. It's all good.
Yeah.
So yeah, folks, we're gonna take 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So folks, we're gonna take 10 minutes. So we'll be back a little bit past the hour, maybe 5 minutes past the hour, and we will find out who's in charge, and then go there and see how Island 1 is. So this will be fun, man. I love going from character creation straight into like first story. Yep. That's a real testament to how tight this game can be. That's awesome.
Yep. All right, cool. So see you all in a few minutes.
Awesome. So we have our stuff. We've gotten our breaks and we've refilled our, whatever's in these cups. We got enough.
Right. I'm not going to say what's in my cup, but I am honoring Dionysus with my beverage.
Don't worry
of
about it.
choice.
Don't ask.
So,
Don't ask questions.
It's nobody else's problem.
That's right.
yeah.
And more importantly, we have learned from past campaigns and we have made a restroom run.
Yeah.
That's right.
Indeed. All right.
That's the worst, though, when you're like right in the middle of a really important scene and you're like, I gotta go. I just gotta go. And you know there's no break coming up for another 3 hours. So it's like, what am I going to do?
My favorite thing to do is just ask. Like, hey, everybody, I got to go to the restroom. So,
Just like Jesus.
Yeah, that's fair. It depends on the crew, right? Like,
oh, come on. Let's be reasonable here, David. God. Who's going to use logic and reason?
nah, I just get up and walk away. Y'all figure it out.
yeah, just
Where'd
I'm
David go?
I'm
He's
like,
running
what
this.
piece
He's running the game. We're in the middle
I'm
of
just
role
like,
play
what
session.
piece of paper do I have to cover my camera with? Because I can't turn it off because I'm going to ruin all of the overlays if I do that. Everybody shifts. So, like, what piece of paper, what piece of something can I find to cover this camera while I run away?
Yes.
Indeed.
So,
Yeah, these are the things that go through Xenon's head as we were shoving off the island.
yeah. So before I roll, right? Before we get that started, let me set the scene a little bit. You all were on your way home from this war, and we might dig into a little bit of that later on. There's actually some islands that can kind of dig into y'all's backstories, which is cool. But there was this war that y'all went and fought. Vague details. But you all went and fought and won, and now you're on your way home. And it was probably over something stupid. You know how these, wars go. It's like, oh no, they kidnapped my girlfriend. Let me launch like 5 billion ships to go handle that kind of deal. But you all are on your way back. And I would like to know a little bit what the ship situation is. Whose ship is it? Is it one ship? Is it multiple ships? Because all of those things are open and available. But how are y'all traveling? I know that we have Phaidros, who is, nautically minded. What is the...
I was kind of thinking of him as being like part of the like Navy side of whatever the war had been. Like,
What if we were on Phaedros' ship?
Okay, cool. Yeah, so of course these would be like triremes, right? They got their 3 sails, rowers instead of fully depending on sails kind of deal. Got the eyes on the front to disquiet.
Are these the boats where the rowers are below deck?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's like a drummer or some dude
Yeah,
like helping us keep time. And
pretty much, yeah.
Everybody who's rowing is below deck, and then the people manning the sails are above deck. Is that how that works?
Right, and then also above deck you're gonna have archers, because you don't have cannons. Right, we're not quite there yet. So you've got archers, and then there are probably also like these big, almost like water trough looking things, but they're filled with hot coals. And so the archers will be able to light their arrows on fire and then shoot them, kind of deal. And that's kind of like your battle setup, right? And there will be like braziers with fire and stuff like that as well, so that everybody can see. And then of course there's a section of this game that we might get to tonight, might get to next week, where you will actually give sacrifices to the gods, and you need something to burn that stuff in, right? So there's like light, and it gets cold on the sea and things like that. But is there anything particular about Phaedros' ship? Any details that are striking that from a great distance, if someone sees Phaedros' ship, what do they notice, and how do they know that? Oh, that belongs to Many-Weight Phaedros, and we should probably just turn. Do you know of anything, Mike? Or anybody.
To be something visible at a great distance, it feels like it would need to be like a decoration of sails or something like that. Like they're in a distinctive color, or there's something painted on them. Or It's like a design
do the
or something.
triremes have the big front ornament?
So like a lot of triremes had like a ramming kind of like, I don't know what to call it, but it was like it juts out in the front, and oftentimes that'd be like coated in metal or like spiked or something like that, because the ramming ships was like a thing.
Sure. Yeah,
Like,
because like these boats are like gonna topple.
right. And so it'd have that, and have like maybe eyes painted. It could also definitely have a like figurehead on the front as well. And like designs on sails and things like that were also very common. Maybe shields along the side that have, a design on them.
Okay.
So what is Phaidros' insignia?
Sorry,
and that might be
Wikipediaing frantically. Yeah.
I mean, that might be related even to his look. It might be like a raven or something, since Phaidros is a raven.
That sounds like a good way to go. Yeah.
Okay. So are these dark sails with like ravens kind of on them, or are they bright sails with a contrasting raven?
I think they're probably fairly bright sails with a contrasting raven. They're like sort of a red-orange type color, like if you saw a raven at sunset, that like with the
Gotcha. Cool.
behind it.
That's awesome.
Maybe it actually like has a little bit of gradient to it, where it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the sky when it's setting.
With the finest dyes taken from the Phoenicians or something. I don't know. Whatever civilization was ransacked for fine dyes. My cat has decided to join the game. We have a mascot.
Well,
we have this little butt.
Character creation is quick. It'll be easy to get a photo.
Yep. This is my hunting pet, or my combat pet. Yeah. So this ship, which I'm not going to put you on the spot to the extent that you have to name it now, unless you just have one going. But Phaidros' ship. This is where everyone has been living on their journey home. And currently it is caught in one of the worst storms that even Phaidros has ever experienced. And you all are, helping and doing the things that you normally do. But this is particularly bad. And the helmsman actually is sort of, kind of giving orders and things like that. Not necessarily the captain, but the person who's like in charge of directing the ship kind of stands and in this big cry of despair says, "Who among you can save us from this storm? Surely the gods have cursed us and we will surely die at sea," kind of deal. So who among you can save us, sort of thing. And so this is the point where we'll roll strife, which I'm sure the pop-up boxes are exactly where I don't want them to be. Yeah, so here we have our target number of 5, and this is a contest of any domain. There's no specific domain for this contest. The ship is battered at sea. There are sharp rocks, lightning, and thunder. It's as if Zeus and Poseidon have conspired to create the perfect storm. And so basically how this will work is you all will tell me what domain you would like to use. You will tell me if you're including your epithet, if you're calling on divine favor. I wouldn't. This isn't the time to use any expendable resources, but basically explain to me how you are facing this challenge, and like what your approach is going to be. But here's the thing about this game. Nobody narrates anything or describes anything until all the dice have been rolled, because we have to know sort of where everyone stands. And then starting with who rolled the lowest and going to who rolled the highest, you will all sort of narrate your part of this scene. So for now, call out if you're going to use, what you're going to use. Are you going to use, arts and oration to command the crew, or craft and reason to, I don't know, do something to fortify the sails, or resolve and spirit to stand against the waves, or blood and valor to just do some crazy feat of athleticism that saves the ship. Everyone now gets to call that out, and then you'll click that domain that you're using, and it'll give you a number of boxes if you're using divine favor, bonds, what have you. If you're not, you can just click through and then it'll roll and pop up, basically. And you'll type in the target number is 5 for this. So I rolled 2d6s. One of them rolled a 5. The other one rolled A 3, so I keep the highest. I get the 5, and so you just have to beat a 5.
Iron-minded Makaria will take on this test with resolve and spirit.
That's a good point that I've forgotten, Heather. Thank you for reminding me. So anytime I roll for a contest, I have to ask you all who will face this contest of leadership. And then you will recite your name and your epithet, and then how you are going about facing this contest. It is also of note that if you do not want to participate in a contest, you can support another character. By doing that, you give them a domain. For this one, since it's any domain, you give them a domain die of your choice, and then you take a bond with that character. So this is the way of maybe I don't want to get involved in this leadership contest, but I love to make sure that, Phaidros is victorious, because then I get a bond with Phaidros, and then when Phaidros is the leader on the island, I can spin that bond to say, maybe we should approach this challenge this way.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that is also an option. So you can either participate yourself and vie for leadership, or you can back, your favorite hero to win.
That's cool. That's a cool mechanic.
Yeah. And if you do so, you get 1 glory instead of whatever the number will be for whoever prevails. So we have Makaria, who is facing this contest with what domain?
Resolve and spirit.
Resolve and spirit. Okay. Anyone else?
Yes. Hilarion would like to face the Boulder-Like. Would like to face this with blood and valor.
Okay, great.
And did you say not to use a god at this point?
I wouldn't. So the target number's 5, and there's not really any stakes here necessarily, so you don't really have to. I wouldn't spend any resources that you can't just get back, right?
Right. Okay, so I would hit the blood and valor button and say target number 5.
Yep. And then just click through the rest. Don't have to worry about it.
Okay. And use the epithet, right?
Yep. If you're using, so are you using your epithet?
Yes.
Okay. So anything you use on a roll, you have to incorporate into your description.
Okay.
And that is the only requirement, is that you incorporate it into your description of the events that occur.
And I'm not going to use any pathos.
Yep, no pathos. We'll get to that in a second.
And then it says other die.
So that's if anybody gives you a die or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Does anybody plan on giving Hilarion a die before he rolls?
Nope.
No.
And
okay, cool.
Then no divine favor. So...
No divine favor. Don't want to spend that. All right, so we've got a 12. Cool. Who else will face this contest?
Well, Great Hunter Xenon will absolutely face this challenge with craft and reason.
Craft and reason. Excellent. Are you going to use your epithet?
No.
See, sometimes it's hard, right?
Right.
And that's kind of the how Blades has the number 1 rule for players is don't be a weasel.
Right.
That kind of bleeds over into this game of if you can't justify it, don't use it, basically.
Right.
But if you can think of a way, by all means do. I'm not going to hurt my feelings if you use your epithet 90% of the time. That's how the game works.
Yep. None of the out of the junk. Nope. Okay.
A 6. All right, and finally.
Anyway, Phaidros will face this with resolve and spirit.
Excellent. All right. Then you can go through. I think many weight is one of the stronger epithets because you can find a justification for that in just about any situation.
Yeah.
You have many ways. Just talk about one of your many ways and how it applies to this specific situation. It's kind of it's good. And then once we have everybody's roles, then we can start our narration. Oh, suffers. Okay. So there's nothing. You're not going to take any damage or anything on this, basically, which is in the form of pathos. It's kind of how it works. But you will narrate first, and you will receive 1 glory. So on your character sheet, there's that whole glory. You'll mark the boxes, and then when you get up to 40, then you mark the 40 and you clear out those boxes. It's kind of how it's organized.
Neat.
And
then that's how your name gets better.
Your name increases with glory, and your epithet increases with boons.
Oh, I cannot wait!
There's so many like little ways to
It's really fun.
I cannot wait to grow this character.
Right?
Xenon!
And all of that factors into sort of the built-in epilogue system, right? When you recite your heroic legend, which will be like the end of the campaign, everybody recites their legend when they get home, right?
That's cool.
That'll factor in because your name die determines how long your name is remembered. Is it remembered, for a few generations, or is it etched into, the halls of history for all time, kind of deal?
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Cool. So, looking here at the old Roll20, it looks like we're going to start with Many-Wayed Phaidros. So the way this works is Many-Wayed Phaidros has suffered. And so what you will do, and this can be as heroic as you want it, right? But basically you will describe how you have contributed to this situation, but also how you have suffered because of it. So, for example, if you were fighting this giant beast, right, and you suffer in that contest, you can talk about how you fought valiantly and even jumped in front to save this unnamed villager from this beast's attack, but suffered the consequences for your heroism, right? So you can kind of describe it however you want to make your hero seem as heroic as you want them to be. Or if you don't feel that way, maybe you feel like you want your hero to kind of have a little pratfall kind of deal. You can be like, oh, they slipped on the deck and just, fell and couldn't help kind of deal. So it's really up to you. But now we will describe and build the scene together of this, averting the storm.
Then I think Many-Wayed Phaidros starts out by trying to rally the men of the ship. Right, we've weathered storms before. We know how to do this. We got to hold the line, got to do that thing. But that, like you said, this storm is beyond what we have experienced or run into before. So even in the process of we know what to do, we have done it, not against this kind of a storm, and it is just too great to overcome with those traditional means. There's probably people getting knocked by lines that break loose and having to stop people from going overboard involved.
Yeah. So those you have sail lines coming, kind of loose and lashing about, and perhaps even a couple of the sailors are knocked into the sea. This is a dire storm, and they're threatened to be pulled beneath the waves. But next, I believe we have. I'll scroll up, and just
Xenon.
We have Xenon. You have prevailed, but you are not best. Yeah. Which means your goal is to describe how you contribute to the situation to make it better, but not how you bring us home, basically.
Right. Sure.
The one who's best gets to describe the final victory, but you get to describe how you have made the situation better.
Yeah. Well, Greed Hunter Xenon is often found on the deck, and during such a storm was wise enough to put away his falcon and his tools of war. And Xenon, for the most part, prevented the boat's braziers and various fires from catching on the boat. So though I did not navigate the boat well, I did stop the boat from catching on fire, and a number of near death moments, keeping things from toppling and scattering embers across our deck. So that's how Xenon found themselves and busied themselves during this storm.
Okay, great. So Xenon, since you prevailed, but we're not best, you earn half the glory from the target number, and you round up, so you'll get 3 glory. Awesome. Yep. All right, so next up we have Makaria. And you can see that Xenon is keeping these, braziers and beds of coals that have oil and things to keep them burning, right? Keeping those things from toppling and setting the deck alight. But what is iron-minded Makaria going to do?
Makaria is standing on the deck with her feet firmly planted and hands on her staff, weathering the storm, almost not moving as she commands just a presence for the crewmen of the boat, the trireme, that she can weather this storm and so can they through resolve.
And you can see many of the crew members that are kind of running about panicked. You can see, as seeing Makaria's example, they kind of slow and remember exactly what it is they need to be doing, and they remember that this is something that they do every day and just in different circumstances. And you can see as they kind of move with purpose, but they move sure-footedly, and the crew begins to work more synchronously, sort of under this calming influence that Makaria brings. And last, but certainly not least, we have Boulder-Like Hilarion, who with his blood and valor has seen us through. So what feat of athleticism, what great deeds has Hilarion done that has saved the ship from the storm?
Hilarion sees that all are languishing in fear and terror at all of this, and he moves to, as usual, he moves forward, bold, decisive movement, and charges for the helmsman. And he sees 2 or 3 on each, because I've looked at the ship, and it doesn't have like a wheel or anything. It's got like 2 big things that they hold, and he shoves like 2 or 3 guys off of each one and just grabs them and holds the ship steady and just stands like a boulder, unmoving and unable to be defeated, and just steers the ship through the storm, as a mighty rock to lead everyone that way.
Excellent. And it's not too much longer after Hilarion takes his position as this just rock of just this sturdy point that guides the ship, with brute strength, keeping the waves from knocking the ship to and fro. It's not too much longer that the sea begins to calm. And you notice that as the sea calms, the clouds don't completely fade, and there's this strange mist that kind of enshrouds the ship. And this is a mist that you all have become accustomed to over the past few days. You had set your course for home, and you were well on your way when this mist, one night while everyone was sleeping, it almost wasn't noticed. It just kind of enclosed around your ship, and every time it kind of lets up, you can see the stars in the sky, and they're strange to you. They don't resemble the ones that you know, and it's difficult to sort of navigate. But you have come to know that these mists will recede when they're meant to. All of you being in some way influenced by the gods, some of you having godly parents, some of you just being heroes in your own right. You know that this is the work of the gods, and that this is a trial that you all must face in order to not only make it home, but this isn't just an obstacle to getting home. This is also your opportunity to etch your names into legend. And so that's something that you all are acutely aware of is during this whole journey. And after another few hours at sea with the seas calm, you notice that the mists begin to recede. And you can see in the distance for the first time in who knows how long, because even the cycle of day and night seems to be different under these new constellations. You can see land, and you see an island rising from the sea in the distance. And some of the sailors, some of the oarsmen and people about the ship, they even cheer at seeing land and just this brief respite from being at sea. And you all approach this island. And you can see that on the docks, that this island, there is there's sort of like a banner and also a sign identifying the island and its kingdom, that this is known as the Isle of Nemos. This island has rocky cliffs and many sort of places for sea caves and things of the like. And you can see sitting atop it a white pillared city with a grand palace sitting atop the hill. You can also notice as you arrive that there are what look like several sanctuaries of healing. You see the iconography of Apollo, who is, the patron of healers. And you can also notice that the rivers that run down into the sea, that where you would expect clear waters, instead you see rivers that are choked with some form of toxic runoff. And these are all the things you see as your ship is being sort of lashed to the docks, and you all arrive on this island. In addition to this, as you step foot on land, you all see these signs of the gods, but it falls to Hilarion to interpret these. And there are two signs of the gods that make themselves known to you. The first of these comes clearly from Apollo, the god of medicine, but also of secret knowledge. And you see that there is a torch that is meant to simply, light the inside of a tent or light a dark space. You can see that it shines with a great brightness, far brighter than any of the other torches around it. Almost sort of think of like a burning bush kind of scenario, where it's just this bright light that you all recognize as divine. And you recognize this as the blazing torch, which is the light of knowledge in a dark world. And the other sign that you see, you can see that there are these two children that are gathered around this small writhing thing. And as you get closer, you can see that this is actually the beheaded body of a snake. And this, Hilarion, but also for sure Xenon, you recognize this as a sign from Artemis, the goddess of the hunt and the slayer of monsters. And this sign is a headless serpent. And as you see it, you can see that the mother of the children runs and grabs them and pulls them away and says, be careful. Snakes are even venomous in death. And those are the two signs you've received of the gods. The blazing torch and the headless serpent, still venomous in death. So, we're now on the island. There are the signs of the gods. Those don't mean anything right now, necessarily, but, those are things to keep in mind and to attempt to interpret as the, sort of events on the island unfold. But the way this game works, you guys don't get the opportunity to walk around and be like, what's going on here? I wonder what the problem is. That's not how this game works. Instead, we go right into the arrival. You are thrust into a situation that you must deal with immediately, and that is the arrival contest.
Before we do that, though, sorry, I don't know if I missed it. Do I do something on my sheet for having won the?
No, there's no place to mark it. Like, we'll just all remember that Hilarion is the leader for this.
Did you take your glory though?
You do get 5 glory.
I get 5. Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, because that was the target number. Everybody else who prevailed gets 3, and then anyone who suffers or supported gets 1.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
And that is not a lot of glory. The actual numbers will be a good bit higher than that, but
seeing people get results of like 9s and 12s made me think that our characters will be generally rolling higher numbers.
Yeah, the math on this game is actually pretty tight. It's like very set bounds. Like, people say D&D has bounded accuracy.
Who says that?
Well, 5th edition does, because you can't get higher than certain numbers.
Okay.
Like there is a highest number you can roll kind of deal, but
That's right.
that's neither here nor there.
70 billion.
So as you all arrive on this island, you make your way through this city that is filled with, white marble edifices with these pillars. I would say Greco-Roman, but it's mostly the Greco part of these pillars. You can see that there is a funeral procession underway, making its way towards the palace. And you find this out in a way the hard way, because you sort of interrupt its proceedings as you are making your way into the city. You sort of are in the front of this procession sort of unexpectedly, as it has rounded from the Temple of Apollo and has begun its trek up the sort of main street up to the palace. And you see that, there's this priest there who has these tattoos kind of covering his body. You can't really make out what they're of because, the robes kind of cover much of his body. But he is accompanied by the queen, as well as the king. The queen looks youthful and vibrant, whereas the king looks sort of old, and also there's just the shadow of despair in his eyes. And you can see that on the sort of plinth behind them, this, flat kind of marble. I think plinth is the right word. But on this sort of thing that they're carrying, there is the body of a young man. And you can surmise from this that this is the body of the prince. It's very apparent by the way all of this is going and the amount of sort of ceremony that is going on about this. So this is not anybody. This is for sure the prince. And you all sort of fall in line-ish with this procession, as people are kind of starting to give you looks. And actually, I think it may be appropriate here to call for a contest, as you have interrupted this funeral procession and must somehow make amends for this, because you're getting a lot of looks and kind of strange faces as you have sort of interrupted this procession. So this is going to be a contest of arts and oration, as this is dealing with etiquette and courtly duties. And so the way it works is now I have a modifier on my rolls, and it's called the strife level, and it's just the amount of trouble that is on the island. It is anywhere from a 4 to a 6. Right now it is at a 5. That is the default level. So whatever I roll on my dice, I'll keep the highest die and then add 5 to it. That's how my rolls work.
Neat.
So I think the challenge that you're facing currently is you are sort of facing against the sort of emotions of King Telmerios, the king of this island. And so it's his attributes that you'll kind of be contesting against. And I'll sort of narrate what I'm doing for now to kind of give you guys an idea of how this works. But basically, King Telmerios has his own name die, which is a D6. But he also has a number of characteristics that give me dice. So for one, he is melancholy. Melancholy. So I'm typing all these things in on the Strife player sheet, and then that'll kind of make up my roll. But he's melancholy, which gives him a D8. And he's also white-bearded. And the way that white-bearded factors into this is you can see that he is old and weary, whereas his wife, the queen, is youthful and energetic and vibrant. And that strikes a stark contrast for you all. And that is also a D6. So now I will roll Strife. which it's going to ask me over here what the contest is. It's arts and oration. We'll submit. Your target number is 11. So on this one, you don't get to choose what your domain is. Everyone must roll arts and oration. But if you wish to include a second domain, first you have to justify how you're going to include it in your narration, but then you must also mark pathos. And in the middle of your sheet, you have this track that's, there's like 5 little dots of pathos. Then there's one marked agony, and then there's the fate track. So this is kind of I like to think of pathos as plot armor. This is the number of times you can take some kind of damage or effort or expend effort before the fates begin to whittle away at your destiny and you begin to draw ever nearer to your, ultimate fate.
Neat.
So if you want to add a second domain, you mark pathos and then you can add that domain in. If you have a way to include your epithet, you can include your epithet. And also if you want to spend bonds or divine favor or things like that to boost your rolls, you can do so. But you must use arts and oration in some fashion. Okay. And the things that you always include your name die. And then you always include whatever the domain is. So you, at minimum, get 2 dice, but you can get more than that. And for you, the players, you keep the highest 2.
So Hilarion, as the leader at this point in time, knows that he has to do what every great leader strives to be good at. And in this case, realizes that this is not where he excels, and he shows Maricon forward. So I'm going to support her.
Makaria.
Yeah. Makaria.
So yeah, Makaria. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna support her. I'm gonna do the thing.
Okay, so the way that works is you will gain 1 glory. You will gain 1 bond with Makaria. And then you will give Makaria a copy of your arts and oration die. So a d6.
Okay, so a d6.
Yeah, so Makaria, you'll get an extra d6. Who is going to face this contest of arts and oration against white-bearded and melancholy King Telmerios?
Great Hunter Xenon will face this contest with arts and oration.
Okay, great.
Iron-minded Makaria, honored of Demeter, will take on this challenge.
Excellent.
Anyway, Phaidros will do this as well.
And you can get when you so there are like stages to these contests, and let me find the actual names because they're actually really fun. Contests. So first you face your opponent, right? And your opponent is King Telmerios in this funeral procession that thinks you all are quite rude for the things that you have done. Then you speak your name, and you can get as extra as you want when you speak your name. You can say, I, Mini-Wade Phaidros, son of... I don't remember. I picked the one person I didn't remember their lineage.
Yeah.
What was it?
Nauplius.
Nauplius?
Nauplius.
I think that's closer. I'm going to have to look at it. But yeah, son of...
Yeah, I'll share the link later.
Son of Nauplius, honored of Poseidon, will face this con. Like, you can get really, really extra with it if you want.
Sweet.
Then you test your fortune, which is when you roll, and then you recite your deeds, which is where you narrate. So it's very, I like this. The structure of this is very fun.
Do you want to talk about divine favor real quick?
Yeah. So the way divine favor works is if you use divine favor, you get to add a d4 onto whatever your 2 highest dice are. So you'll keep the 2 highest from your pool, and then you'll add a d4 onto that. If you use divine favor in your narration, you must include how whatever characteristic of whatever god you used manifested during the contest. So it might be, if you call on Poseidon, in the fortitude of Poseidon, it might be, some symbol of Poseidon's fortitude that shows, like, maybe the sound of breaking waves kind of fills the air as you do this. If you call on your bond with a god to bolster you, I wouldn't recommend doing that quite yet. But if you do, you get a copy of their name die. All gods have a name die of a d12. Which is great until it's not. You add a d12 to your pool. That d12 still has 1 through whatever on it. So it can roll like garbage and not get you anything. Or it can roll a 12 and boost you to supernatural heights. And if you call in the bond with the god, you describe how the god actually like manifests and gives aid. Right? Whereas divine favor are kind of like signs. Calling on a bond, that god is literally like paying attention to what you're doing and helping kind of deal. So those are the options you kind of have. You can mark Pathos to add a second domain. You can use divine favor, or you can call in a bond. So now is the part where we test our fortune, and I see that Makaria already has.
Okay, I think I'm just going to submit on this then.
Oh.
Okay, so you'll suffer. And Phaidros.
And I don't mark a bond with Hilarion, right?
Oh, no,
just
Hilarion
marks
gets
one
a
with me,
bond with
right?
you, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and we have many-wayed Phaidros coming in as not only prevailing, but is best. All right. So, let's begin with Great Hunter Xenon. So now, this is an arts or an oration contest. So this is all about etiquette and explaining yourself and making these people feel better.
Yep.
Yeah. Recite your deeds.
So, Great Hunter Xenon, aware that we had arrived on an island that has a temple to Apollo, and to and aware that there would be need to sacrifice to Apollo, Xenon had already begun the hunt for items to provide as offering to either Apollo or the king of this island, and unfortunately was unsuccessful in finding a living white ram to provide, and instead only has a mangled heron for offer, and is not nearly large enough or respected enough of an offering at this stage. My falcon went and found what it wanted instead of what I needed, unfortunately. So Xenon is sheepish and in the back, holding their meager offerings in hand, but with shame.
Yeah, and you can see that the king is almost sort of like, why have you brought a carcass to my son's funeral? You know, this is not the time or the place, kind of deal. Yeah. Which brings us to Makaria, who has prevailed. So Makaria is able to make this better.
Makaria, who was pushed forward by Hilarion, stands steadily, resting her hands on her staff, and using the wisdom of Athena, has looked across this scene of this funeral and found the bits of remembrance for this prince. And she, seeing those things, she speaks of what his great deeds must have been, and what a loss it is to this island for him to be gone. But there will forever be glory in his name and in his deeds.
Right. Excellent. And you can see that the king seems consoled by this, you know, remembering the things that his son had done, and, you know, remembering the good that befell the island from his son's deeds. He seems a bit comforted. And now we come to Many-Wayed Phaidros, who has prevailed and is best.
Yeah. Many-Wayed Phaidros, having traveled many places and know there are many ways that you have funerary rites, depending on where you go. right? So he is vaguely familiar with like how these rites here and this procession is different from if you were in Athens or somewhere else, right? So a little bit of able to like, blend in a little bit more. And I also spent pathos to call on resolve and spirit in the process.
Excellent.
And I think that is part that his little dark raven like eyes kind of see like the ghost of that prince following along in the procession, and he's able to like from something in like the prince's behavior and demeanor, like pick up something about that demeanor that he's able to like replicate. Like, oh, he does like some certain gesture, he holds things a certain way, and like there's a position to things that would remind them of him somehow.
Yeah. And the king seems to recognize that. But interesting you should mention the shade of the prince. Because as you see the shade of the prince, you can see the shade looking first very forlornly at his own body. Just sort of standing and sad and almost kind of shaking his head at his body that's laying there. Sort of as a gesture that you can see is, what kind of almost futility, like this was for nothing kind of deal is the message you get. And then you can see the prince look with pity at his father, and then with anger perhaps, but more wariness at his mother. And then you can see as the shade disappears from sight. But the king, seeing you and seeing, sort of your ability to kind of react to these traditions and things of that nature, kind of seems satisfied with the effort that your band has put together, and says, great heroes from afar. I, King Telmerios, and my wife, Queen Naya, would be honored to have you all at the funeral feast in our palace. And we would be honored if you would remain and participate in the festivities for the time of mourning. And has basically invited you all to come up to the palace, to mingle, to stay for as long as you need, and to, continue on as you see fit. And so, yeah, so to do the bookkeeping for that particular contest, Makaria will receive 6 glory. Xenon will receive 1, as well as Hilarion. Both of you will receive 1. Hilarion, you'll receive a bond with Makaria. And Phaidros will receive 11 glory, the entirety of the target number. Because you are best. Yeah, and so that gets you all sort of up into the palace. In the palace, there is a great feast that's been prepared. You see the king sitting upon his throne, not eating very much, and just seeming, sad. That's kind of the only emotion. He's very distraught over his son's death. The queen sits sort of, her expression is hard to read. She sort of sits just kind of looking about, and you can see her court and her guards are all gathered around, kind of waiting on her. And you can see that in another chamber, the body of the prince has been sort of laid out. But there is a sort of sheer curtain drawn over that room, and that tattooed priest sort of stands before this chamber and is not letting anyone in to view the body. And several of you would kind of know that this is something's not right about this situation. This isn't a game where we have to, sit around and think of, is something going on here? We know that something's going on here. And all of your heroes know that something about this situation is wrong. Be it, not allowing anyone to view the body of the prince, the sadness of the king, or the striking youth of the queen that seems almost unnatural. And so you all are at this feast. So this is the part of the island. We have now reached what is called the trials. Well, technically we're at the funeral. We're not quite at the trials yet. So we're at the funeral, and there are a few things that are kind of options here. You can investigate sort of what happened to the prince. You can, sort of chit-chat to do that. You could sort of console the king if you want to sneak in to see the prince. However, specifically Hilarion, however Hilarion sees fit to sort of address the situation, you all can. But there are a number of things that are here to be found out, and it's sort of what you all have interest in. And just because Hilarion is the leader does not mean that others cannot offer up ideas. So it's an open sort of floor of what you all are interested in investigating.
Hilarion knows this is not really his area of expertise. He is for bold, decisive movement. So he looks to his compatriots for advice.
Are we? So we're in the palace, but are we able to speak candidly, or do we need to be guarded in our discussions?
You would have no reason to think that you need to be guarded. You're at the feasting table, but everyone around you seems sort of caught up in their own conversations and things of that nature. They're making merry and sort of celebrating the life of this prince. So y'all can speak as you, and plus you're heroes. You're above reproach anyway. For most things, this is just kind of how it works. So,
sweet. Okay. Then Xenon would lean forward, like pulling some, turkey leg or whatever out of his mouth, and say, this whole island seems off to me, but notably the queen, and how fiercely she is guarded in her own home. Surely there is not, surely there's not dangers within her own walls.
I find her unusual youth strange. Like, is she the new queen? Like,
oh yes,
or is she very young?
That's definitely a same thought here we had.
Especially for a place where the rivers are not great to remain in such health, right? Like,
and how old did the prince look? I mean, how old was the prince?
The prince was kind of a young man, maybe like early 20s.
So obvious new queen.
If you all just listening around, this isn't a game where we make like perception checks and stuff like that. If you want information, you get it. Sort of listening around, you can hear, and even asking around. People will be like, "Oh no, Queen Naya has been queen for, as long as King Telmerios has been, of age to rule. She's gifted by the gods with her youth." And has looked thus since she, and then even if you press further, they're like, oh no, she bore the prince of her own body. Yes, that is her son by blood, kind of deal. And so for sure after asking around that this youth is unnatural.
Well, Aphrodite's a thing, so
right. That this is,
somebody here's probably related to her. Yeah.
Something divine or otherwise has caused her youth.
But not just her. If you look upon the room, we cannot even bear witness to the prince. The priest bars entry from there. There's something suspicious of that as well.
Hilarion, did you see the sign of Artemis when we landed? The headless serpent.
Yes.
I am concerned that
Definitely.
there is a monster among us, some unseen beast. That
I hate the invisible ones.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, those are the most tricky.
Right?
Speaking of invisible ones, so the shade of the prince, like
the shade of the prince, you witnessed.
So yeah, when the procession was passing, I caught a vision of the shade of the prince, who seemed obviously upset at his own passing. Makes sense. Sad for his father.
So he did not pass in battle.
We'll have to figure that one out from the room, I think. But he didn't seem pleased with the queen. He didn't have the same sort of, remorse towards her for her state of being. And she didn't seem to be as remorseful for the passing of the prince as
the king does either. Can we find out how the prince died?
So in order to do that, you would have to see the body.
Oh.
And so how would you like to do that?
Okay.
And I have some things here. I can give you options.
Okay. Well,
will you confront the court and demand to know what has happened to the prince? This is a contest. Actually, I won't tell you what kind of contest it is. I'd like you to just decide which course of action. Hilarion perhaps may decide which course of action is necessary here. Or will you attempt skullduggery to divine the truth? So the answer there is, are you going to demand this of the queen to tell you what has happened to the prince? Or are you going to try to sneak past this priest that is guarding the body of the prince?
So Hilarion is a very straightforward and blunt individual. But that does not mean he's stupid. And he knows that his friends around him, his compatriots on this vast sea voyage, the very regal looking Maricos who failed in the check that he tried to set her up for because she was regal looking.
But also because he can't pronounce her name worth anything.
It's a very hard name, and she should have thought of that beforehand.
Just call her Mac. That was the plan.
Mac, fine.
Just call her Mac.
Mac. And then you have the Birdman, who is his great friend. Xenon. It's a weird name, but we like him, and he's very. I don't know
where Hilarion starts and Mike stops. I don't know.
You be quiet. The leader is talking now. Xenon.
Everything is working exactly as intended.
The leader is talking right now until one of us spends a bond to have him follow their lead. Right?
That's true. Right. That is a thing. Whatever Hilarion decides, if you don't like it, you can spend a bond to change his mind.
That's awesome.
But you have to narrate where that bond came from.
Mm-hmm.
If it's one that you started the game with, you have to narrate where that came from, what you did.
Yes.
That would convince Hilarion to do what you want.
Right.
Love it.
So he knows that the hawk-like Xenon is a hunter of not just things but also thoughts. So perhaps he has some ideas here. And then there's the many-wayed Phaidros, his friend from the ship that taught him the difference between port and starboard, even though he's still a little touchy on that. 50-50 though, he's getting there.
50-50.
This man knows.
Two options. It's gonna be one of them.
He's got it right half the time. Okay.
He hasn't learned a fucking thing.
So he knows, and so he tells his friends, "Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give you guys like 5 minutes, and then I'm going to go ask the queen, unless somebody comes up with a better idea."
So you're going to give us 5 minutes to to ask the queen, or you're just going to go?
Well, I'm just going to go ask the queen, but I thought I'd be nice, give you guys a couple minutes in case you got a better idea before I do that.
I think
You
it
can
is
convince
possible.
me
I
there's
think
a
it is
better way.
possible to get access to the prince, to examine his remains,
Okay.
without being seen by the priest.
Okay, great. So, it's time for a contest then, as you've decided your course of action. So this will be a contest of craft and reason against Priest Harkon.
Priest Harkon?
Harkon, yeah.
It's way too much like
what?
Like
David.
Like he's harking on me.
Just keep going with it, Dave. See what happens.
I just like this.
I was thinking a much more bawdy reference, but
and I'm thinking
Yeah,
Dune.
listen,
It sounds like
I wasn't-
Harkonnen, but
Harkonnen.
That's where my mind went too. I immediately thought Dune.
It's gonna pull my heart plug out. Fuck.
Makaria will give her, will assist the blank in my brain, Xenon.
Blank in your brain.
Yeah, the blank in my brain. It just left. Will assist Xenon with and give her die.
Great. So yeah, that is a copy of your craft and reason die, which is what?
D6.
D6. Okay. So Xenon, you'll have an extra D6.
Awesome.
You're facing the devious Priest Harkon.
Can other people help?
Other people can help. Yeah. So who will face this contest of craft and reason against the devious Priest Harkon?
Certainly, the Great Hunter Xenon will find means of entry to examine this body without the devious Priest Harkon finding out.
Excellent.
And I will use my craft and reason to do so.
Okay. Excellent.
Guided by the hand of Artemis herself.
And I also assist Great Hunter Xenon.
Oh shit! All three of them can assist.
Yeah. So that just gives you like 3 extra craft and reason dice.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But that also puts all of your eggs in one basket. So if that roll goes
Jesus.
poorly, it
Yeah,
goes
guys.
poorly.
Hilarion will help by telling.
I mean, that's kind of funky. Okay. This is not something I'd expected was possible because in Blades, only one person can help, right? So
Yeah, no, if you want to support a hero, everybody gets a bond with you. You owe all of them one.
I owe all of them
the proverbial one.
And that doesn't stick for just this island?
That's permanent. Yeah, that's permanent. It stays.
Now, real quick, do Pathos follow you around from island to island?
No, those are cleared at the end of every island.
I was not going to add a Pathos earlier because I was like, what if it stays with me to the end of the days?
Your target number is 11.
11. Okay, cool. So I'm going to put that in the machine.
Hilarion's going to go tell the story of the great battle with the ship to get here and through the storm on the other side of the room.
So,
yeah.
So other dice, I'm getting support from 3 people.
Does anybody have more than a D6 in craft and reason? No, so you'll put, all of the D6s that you have. And I'm not super sure what the syntax on that is. It should give you some sort of idea in the box, I think.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It gives me, it says 1D, it says, the thing plus the thing plus the thing plus the thing. So 1D6 plus 1D6 plus 1D6.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Yep. And
is there anything else you're spending on this?
I mean, since everybody's put in, I feel like I kind of. All right. I don't know. I really don't know how the rolling math works here. So I don't know if I should put in more. I've already got 3 1d6s.
The way the rolling
I got like an 18 possible out of those. Or
the way the rolling math works is you get your name die, you get your epithet if you use it.
I do.
And any other dice. So those extra 3d6s, that gives you 5 dice. That gives you, 4 d6s and I guess a d8 for your own craft and reason?
Yep.
So that's 5 dice. You will keep the 2 highest of those 5 dice. So the highest you can possibly roll at this moment is a 14. If you use Divine Favor, you add a d4 to that.
To that total number.
To that total number, yes. So that's outside of your dice pool.
Got it. Okay, cool.
What were you gonna say, Heather?
Well, so like, even if words like Nighthawk, you were saying that you would go cause a distraction or do this other thing, that can still be considered the craft and reason roll.
Yeah.
If you would rather do that and actually roll rather than give a die.
Yeah. So there's
me going in and telling the story to let him go in would be.
Yeah, that is your crafter. And then just whenever you narrate whatever the result of your roll is, you can say that's what you were doing. Right? So everybody can participate. And it still just be you helping one guy. Or you can all support and lend your dice. And then that just increases the chances of, David rolling some 6s in that dice pool. So there's like a few ways you can go about it. Having more people roll dice tends to be like probably better mathematically than putting it all in one, because even with all of these dice, David could still roll 2 1s and roll a 2.
Right.
That's still very possible, so.
Right.
Gotcha.
It's kind of up to how you guys want to do it.
I assume that because he was the one doing the action of
well, so it's a contest. So everybody participates or they support.
Can I withdraw my support then, and then?
Yeah, I have not actually gotten through that page of it yet. So
yeah.
Okay, so then let me withdraw my support, and the Boulder-Like,
the Boulder-Like
Hilarion
will also face this challenge.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Yeah. So anybody who wants to face it, like you can trade for bonds and stuff like that if you want, but having multiple people try is generally better, just because it's like giving more kind of elements to the narration as well.
Yep.
Are we better trying to team up into 2 teams? That like
into a pair of teams.
Like someone supporting Xenon and someone supporting Hilarion.
Like that.
Like I'm not sure what the outcome of like if one of them succeeds and one of them fails is.
So if one of them suffers, so this isn't perilous, it's not mythic, it's not epic, it's not sacred. So there's no like resources you're going to lose for missing this. The only thing you're missing out on is the opportunity to see the prince's body, right? If no one prevails.
This isn't the full solve. This is the.
You get to see the body.
It's only if nobody succeeds that we don't.
Yeah, if nobody succeeds, then you don't get the thing. But if even one person prevails, then you get what you set out to do.
Okay. Yeah, so I was thinking about doing like spending my divine favors, because divine favor, you spend it and it's gone.
Right. And you can get them back in various ways, but
sure.
We'll talk about that when it's like appropriate. Yep. But you can actually like call the god's attention to a contest if you're going to do something really cool and get like a bond with a god for doing so. But that's like a whole thing. We're not really in that realm yet.
We're not there yet. Okay, cool.
Okay, so hold on though. So since I'm rolling a d6 for craft and reason, and I can put a d6 for my epitaph, I've basically, and the number is 11, I've got to get box scores to get this right.
Or an 11, you have to meet it at least. Or if you want, you can spend a pathos and add in your blood of valor and get a d8. Right. So there's a few ways you can kind of push that in your favor, but yeah, this 11 is difficult if you're rolling 2d6s. Yeah.
Can I support Hilarion instead? And have that kind of be like a little bit of like stage direction, like address them like this. Don't don't hold the wine in it. Yeah, don't hold the wine in your left hand above your heart when you're talking to them, and this.
And also remember that gives you a domain die. You can also still use bonds and have them bolster you and give you their name die, which is like another dice. So like there's lots of things you can add to your roll, but the way the game works is it's a risk reward thing. You put in all the resources you want on your roll, and then however it comes out, it comes out. There's no like once you roll, you've rolled, you have tested your fortune, and the fates have decreed how it is that you will perform in this contest.
Gotcha.
I will still assist my uncle.
Okay. Uncle Xenon.
Uncle
Xenon.
Xenon, yes.
Excellent. Well then, Grid Hunter Xenon will go forth with that support, and if I spend my divine favor, I get just a flat +4 on top of all this stuff, right?
So you get a plus a D4 on top
Plus
of
a
all
D4.
the stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
whatever that D4 rolls, and it'll add that in.
It will.
Yeah. So you choose your divine favor, and then whenever it gets to the narration, you'll describe like how whatever divine favor you called on manifests.
All right. Well, then I'm going to spend a divine favor from Artemis herself, because I feel that she has given a sign, and I hope that she continues to guide our hand in this endeavor.
Yeah. And you can spend multiple divine favor, but that doesn't add more D4s.
Just
you got it.
Keep the top.
Yeah, it lets you keep the highest of all the D4s you roll.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got prevails. Hilarion.
Hilarion, be hilarious.
So one of you has prevailed, so you will be able to see the body of the prince. It just depends on who is best.
Right.
Okay, so the way we do this now, since you have tied, which is amazing, the way you do this is now both of you will roll your name die.
Oh.
You have to roll off because you can't tie. That's not allowed. Somebody is better than somebody else. That's just the way it works.
So
That's how it works. That's
do
rules.
So whatever your name die, if you want to just type in the like /R 1d6 or whatever and roll it in roll 20 and just get it going. But okay, we got a 5 from David. And a 3. Okay, so Xenon will be best.
Okay.
But that does kind of follow in with what we already wanted to do, right? So that's kind of cool.
Sure.
So we'll start with Boulder-Like Hilarion. Describe how you create this distraction for Xenon that you've already been talking about.
So Hilarion is going to make his way to the opposite side of the room where he saw a lot of the younger members of the staff there, of the party goers, so to speak, and he is going to regale them with the tale of the storm. And how the waves were crashing and the Kraken was there in the background, and it was all of this lightning was coming down, and how he was able to wrestle and stand like a mountain, boulder-like, even with the rudder there with his friend the Miniway, reminding him port, starboard, port, and then explaining and guiding him as they made their way through the crashing waves and all of the epic destruction to find their way to this safe haven.
Excellent. And yeah, you gather the attention of not only these young sort of men and women in waiting kind of this court. You gather the attention of the court itself, and even the king and queen. They sort of lend an ear to your story and are very impressed by this tale of heroics. This is the kind of thing that is expected of heroes when they come to court, is that they tell stories of their exploits and they entertain the nobles who have no concept of these things because they're stuck in their dusty old palace all the time. And yeah, everyone, all eyes are on Boulder-Like Hilarion, standing there regaling the crowd with this story of heroism, which leaves Xenon to act.
So, Great Hunter Xenon, having understood the plan from our glorious leader Hilarion, Xenon was able to, with some guidance from, so sorry, getting all the names again, with some guidance from Makaria, able to navigate his way through the labyrinthine halls until was able to find access up into the rafters of this castle, and through deft manipulation of of body and self, able to make my way through the rafters into the sacred chamber where the prince lies. And in the moments when the crowd outside the court was cheering at its loudest, I was able to drop down into the room and hide amongst the pillars in shadow
with the precision of Artemis. Yeah,
and Artemis's precision certainly came into play when not only knowing the timing of when to strike, but also where to fall, so as to make the least amount of disturbance and leave no trace once I had gathered my information and departed that scene. Of course, as a hunter, I understand wounds. I understand how things die,
right.
Where marks are left, where they can be hidden, how to go about things without ruining a pelt. Matters when examining a corpse.
That's right. Great. So now this contest is resolved. Xenon, you get 11 glory.
Okay.
That was the target number. Hilarion, you get 6. Everyone who supported gets 1, as well as a bond with the hero they supported. So now that you are inside this chamber with the princess body,
I owe you 1.
Right. Yeah.
So good. You were like the proverbial 1, and now I get it. It's like, yeah, you're right. You did super help me by helping me understand how the stupid castle was laid out. And I do really.
Yes. Here's how it normally works for you to go on your little adventure.
Right. Yeah. That's perfect.
I have this feeling that Mac is older than Xenon.
I think that makes sense.
And yet calls him uncle.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
I've been in that position. I have a niece who's like 5-6 years older than me.
Hey, Casey.
Or 4 or 5.
What is that? Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. I love that quite a bit.
So yeah, Xenon, you're now in this chamber with the priest and looking, or not the priest, the prince, and looking over the prince's body. You notice that there is this sort of dark liquid on the lips of the prince, that you recognize to be some type of venom or poison. Okay. In addition, you notice several small punctures on the prince's arm, neck, things of that nature, as if something has been, which this is sort of beyond almost your comprehension at this time with the way that medicine was, but it looks as though something has been perhaps injected into the prince.
Yeah. Or like, would I recognize these as like asp bites?
They don't look as though they've come from an animal.
Okay.
These are single holes, kind of spread. Yeah, it looks as though we would know this as a syringe, perhaps, or something being injected. But for these Greek heroes, this is almost unheard of. To inject something into the body. The body's meant to be kept whole. I believe
maybe it was
the prevailing.
A snake.
Maybe it has. Yeah, maybe the snake had one.
Snake only had one tooth.
The other thing you notice as you are sort of making your exit from this chamber is seeing Priest Harkon from the back, who now has his hood kind of lowered. You can see that those tattoos that you've been noticing, you can make out sort of the form of them. They are snake-like, and you can see that these tattoos depict serpents that perhaps go all over the priest's body. But you can see the head of a snake is actually like peeking up from the back of his collar, and like the head is on the back of his skull, and you can see that there are, bits of snake sort of all over priest's body.
So
and you know that these are not the symbols of Apollo. This is something older and more sinister.
Yes.
These markings.
This is not a priest of Apollo. He feigns to be a priest of Apollo.
No, for some reason. Is he quiet for everybody else?
No.
David?
Or is that me?
Can you guys not hear me?
No, I hear you fine.
Okay, now I do. Okay, that was me.
Okay.
I must have hit the volume on my headset.
Okay. This is he feigns to be the priest of Apollo, but he is
right. There's something going on here, and as you make your way back out into the feasting hall, you notice that other priests at court have these same snake-like markings.
Got it.
Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Got it. Okay. No, this is good. This is very good. So I will make my way back to my fellow heroes and give them all the look that says we need to talk.
Yeah. So the night passes a bit, but later on you're approached by a young woman who's dressed in robes that are sort of white with like gold sort of designs on them, and clearly bear the symbol of Apollo, which is stark contrast from a lot of the priests you see kind of around here. And she comes up and introduces herself, and she says, great heroes, it is a pleasure to meet you. I am Thesia. If I may be so bold as to introduce myself, I am a scholar of alchemy in the Acropolis of Apollo here, and I would just love to be honored with your presence at some point on your stay here to see the sort of wonders that we have been creating in the name of Apollo on this island. We find our alchemy to be very advanced, and would love to sort of see how it compares to what you all have seen in the greater world. That's sort of our aspiration, is to share our knowledge with the world and with the neighboring islands and with others. Though it's been some time since any of us have strayed too far from Nemo's shore. And she's very excited and animated as she's like describing sort of these alchemical wonders, like wounds being treated overnight and elixirs that bolster the strength of the body and things of that nature that they're manufacturing in the Acropolis of Apollo. She seems very excited. And after doing this for some time, you see the priest Harkon kind of approach and say, Thesia, don't you have work elsewhere to be doing? Surely you don't need to bore these heroes with your alchemical experiments. And she kind of looks sheepish and sort of excuses herself and kind of tries to move away. You all are definitely free to stop her or intervene in this, but yeah, she's going to kind of try to make her leave after being chastised.
Oh, I stop her. I am most interested to see what these different kind of alchemical items you've created. I would certainly love to come to the Temple of Apollo and pay reverence.
She says, oh, that would be wonderful. But Harkon is right. I do have a lot of, now that I think about it, I have a few solutions sort of brewing at the moment and that I need to get back to. So that's, perhaps I'll see you after the games tomorrow. And she kind of, sort of looks at all of you expectantly.
The games? And look at the boulder.
Yes. Yes, they're holding a sort of competition of battle. All of the fighters of Nemos are going to sort of fight to see who is the strongest among them. And it's in honor of the prince, this contest of combat. And I hear the winner of the games gets to face the champion of Nemos, Cerseus.
Oh,
Perhaps a few of us will enter in that case.
Oh, that would be wonderful to see. Combative strategies you all have. That I mean, I'm sure you have many different ways to approach this kind of contest that perhaps the fighters of Nemos have never even seen. It would be great for everyone, I think, if you participated. Yes.
yes, some among us might have many ways to do such things.
Yes.
Only, right?
She says, well, I must be going. And she kind of hurries off back down the hill to the Acropolis of Apollo. And you see the priest is he's doing that thing where he's kind of like slowly moving away but keeping eye contact.
Is there a problem, Archon?
He says,
Or Hardon?
not at all. I'm simply reminding our bright alchemist that work never ceases. And he kind of like continue. It's almost like he's gliding, like he's moving in that way that you're like, this is so obviously sinister that it hurts.
Like Hilarion looks at him and then leans over to Xenon and says, with not a whisper, "That's creepy, right?"
Oh, I thought I had been drinking too much. You're seeing it too. Yes.
Yes.
Unsettling.
Creepy.
Yeah.
Very creepy.
Yeah, and he like just kind of fades back, into the crowd, and then you see him, after a
Right,
moment.
Jafar. Jeez.
Yeah, it's very Jafar vibes is what you're getting. And he kind of like, you see him later sort of at the queen's ear, kind of whisper some things in her ear, and she kind of nods to him and then just continues to look around. And so that's one sort of conflict at this funeral managed. The other sort of main kind of issue you see here is the state of the king. Sort of sitting on his throne in this entire night of feasting and merriment and storytelling, the king has just been morose and melancholy this entire time, just sort of kind of dejected and sort of eyes kind of downcast. He just seems miserable. And
I mean, his son did just die.
Right. But yeah, that's sort of the other problem that sort of occurs to you all that perhaps can be solved if you wish. But if you do not wish to get involved, that is also an option to just kind of leave the king. But you all kind of have the inkling, perhaps we can help this king.
Go help the king.
Yeah, I would like to help the king.
So
I would like to help somebody help the king.
who will face this contest of resolve and spirit against the melancholy of King Telmerios?
Iron-minded Makaria will take up this challenge.
Xenon
Many
will
wait,
sit
Phaidros
together.
will do that too.
Okay.
One Hilarion, it's in the name.
Yeah. I think I got it here. I've got to. Yeah. Definitely have to. The Boulder-Like Hilarion is certainly going to assist the king with his melancholy.
Excellent. Okay, so you guys have actually already faced a contest against the king, so you kind of know the dice that the king has. A couple d6s, a d8, right? This contest is of resolve and spirit, as I've already said. So that is the required domain. You may mark Pathos to add another. Your difficulty here is but a 9. As you attempt to cheer up the king. So anyone who has accepted this challenge may now test your fate and see how the fates have decreed that your hero is able to intervene in the situation.
What did we need to do to include divine favor? Is that just spend it, or was there something else to?
So you spend it. That's at like the end. That's like at the
it.
end of the at the end
Very
of the
end, you
prompt.
tell it you're spending 1 divine favor.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like Pathos where you spend it to pull something else in, or so if there was something else to.
Yeah.
Trigger. Okay.
We'll get to like special contests pretty soon, maybe tonight, I think.
Okay.
we'll have time for like, I don't think we're gonna finish this island tonight, but we'll make it like halfway, which I'm happy with.
Our time. We like to take our time.
Yeah, and it helps me feel like I'm not just pushing you guys from contest to contest, right? Because that is my job to do, but I like to let you guys kind of linger. So
yeah, and Xenon. Oh, go ahead.
I didn't. Can I re-roll, Ethan?
Yes. For what reason?
I didn't include the assist die.
I was about to say that. Yeah, Xenon was.
What reason do you have to defile this contest, the sacred random number generator?
I need to wait? Hold on. Helios. Hilarion hasn't rolled yet. Do I need to throw my lot in with Hilarion?
I mean, I've prevailed, so you can still say that. You can still assist me. It's fine. I'll just keep it.
Okay.
If you, whoever you want to assist, but I mean, whoever's.
I'll assist Hilarion then, because Hilarion hasn't hit the number yet.
Yeah, okay. I would hate for Makaria to roll again and then to suffer
and fail,
because that would be the one that we would keep. So let's keep the one where you prevail.
Yeah, I would cry.
Yeah.
So Hilarion, add a d6 when it asks you for helpers.
Okay.
You just type out a 1d6 or plus 1d6 or whatever it is.
Okay.
As Xenon moves to help Hilarion.
I prevailed, but am not best.
Oh.
All right, great. So we have a 9, 10, 11. Excellent. So we'll begin with Iron-Minded Makaria.
Iron-Minded Makaria spends time with the king, not jovially, but recounting tales, or listening to his problems and grievances, and giving stalwart advice to help lift his mood and to help his mood and remind him of the great king that he is, and these emotions do not fall well upon him.
And he seems comforted sort of by this like someone else has noticed sort of his pain and his grief. Someone else has noticed and has made an effort, and that like kind of bolsters him a bit. And next up we have Boulder-Like Hilarion.
Hilarion would speak to the king and tell him a great tale with the aid of his friend Xenon, and would explain of a time where Xenon and Hilarion they lost a friend of theirs in the battle that they just left from, and that like a boulder, sometimes you just have to roll on and get past these things.
A rolling stone gathers like no moss nor sadness.
Nor sadness.
Of sadness, you have to move past this.
That's right.
And get beyond. And there's good times after, and you can remember back to the joy and the pleasure, and remind the king that sometimes you don't get what you want, but you're gonna get what you need.
King is like, my son was crushed.
Screw you so bad, Mike. Oh my god.
Excellent. Let's just take a minute for that one, I think.
Oh my god. Michael.
Just doing it, let it set.
Just
sink in.
I love this character.
All right, and last but quite the opposite of least, we have Many-Wayed Phaidros.
Yes, Many-Wayed Phaidros, after people have conversed with the king, will also come up to converse with the king. He'll bring like the flagon of wine to refill the king's cup. With the insight of Hecate, know the right way to present these sort of things. But tell him that I've seen many people who have had to deal with their loss in many ways. Haha. Because of course that joke is gonna go real bad real soon, I'm sure.
No, we're gonna
But
be
it-
on like
We're gonna hit
episode
that
12.
innuendo stride, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. We're gonna be on like episode 12, and it's gonna be like this 80th time that Many Ways has come up, and it's gonna be perfect.
Just gonna every roll, just get in there. That's the thing. But I will tell him that during the procession, I saw your son, not his physical form, but like his shade. I saw his feelings towards you and his hope for you to go on and carry on and all that kind of stuff. He hopes you're able to move on with your life as he progresses on to Mike not knowing the proper how Greeks viewed death thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And the king
They
says,
like step through a gate. I don't know. That's
Over
they
they
pay
take
the boatman.
boatman and go down
Yes.
the river Styx.
They give Charon his obol and move on.
yes.
And the king kind of looks up at you and he says, "Truly, you've seen this?"
Like, I have seen this. I understand. I know that life is difficult, but I can't get that satisfaction.
You too, sir. No. No.
But you will have yours. Like,
Okay. Okay.
There's no points for jokes.
Yeah.
This is the epic
I'm
tale of
hilarious.
our conquest.
I can't. Yeah, I actually.
we're
can't
gonna start
offer
in
you-
dock to glory right away. Yeah.
I can't offer you anything for good jokes. In D&D I can give inspiration.
Right.
I haven't really thought that much into it in other systems, so I don't know what the other options are. But I can't give you anything in this game.
Your
I'll have
good
to think
jokes
of
buy
something.
you nothing.
If this is gonna continue, then I'm gonna have to think of something because it's worth something to me.
Oh, it's not stopping. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, so I gotta figure it
You've
out.
seen
but-
this group. You know what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
We have just begun.
Maybe I'm gonna have to. Maybe good jokes are worth divine favor with Dionysus or something, because he's the god of a good time. Sure, mark a divine favor with Dionysus. This won't break the game
Oh my god.
for your very good joke. What is the like characteristic of Dionysus? He's on there,
That-
right?
No, he's not.
He's not on there.
No.
What the fuck? That's so rude.
You could drop a bond with him.
That's too much. That D12 is a little too much for me to just give out for good jokes. But
So okay,
that's a shame.
I get you like wisdom for a good joke or knowledge for a good joke.
Hold on. Okay. I'm gonna break the whole thing and I'm gonna open a character sheet.
I think it really depends on the joke that was told and how the strife player.
Yeah, let's see.
Feels-
Let's see how the strife player. I think for this one,
These are both
Um,
music based also, and that's Apollo.
yeah, they're both music based. I'm trying to think here.
How do we break this game?
How do we break
First
it?
session.
That's what I was just thinking. It's like we are just into this game first session. We are already breaking things.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. That's how we do
You know
them.
what? You know what? Mark some divine favor with Hera for that those cunning words, because that took some smorts to come up with that good joke.
This is some Brooklyn Nine-Nine shit right there.
Yeah, some smorts. Perfect. Okay, so as your reward for cheering up the king, Phaidros, you gain an advantage die, which is a D10. And just mark that over on your. Let me look at the sheet again. Mark that over on your great deeds for now, but it is one that you'll erase later. But just mark like cheered up King Telmerios. And then make sure that box isn't checked. You'll check it whenever you use the die. and that'll give you a D10 to add to your pool, and that can be used at any time, in any contest. But basically, you'll have to explain how the favor of the king has given you an advantage. But yeah, there's a few times that can come up.
So there was no glory on that one, or was
there was glory on that one. So the target number was 9, which means Phaidros gets 9 glory. Everyone else who participated gets 5.
And I got 1 for helping out.
Uh-huh. Yep, and you got 1 for supporter. Okay. So the king seems to kind of liven up a bit. And you can see that where before his face looked haggard and like aged, with this like newfound hope that his son's spirit has found its way to the underworld and perhaps walks the fields of Elysium. You know, that's optimistic. Perhaps Asphodel, you know, is where most people end up. But, you know, maybe Elysium. You know, he's got hope now. So he cheers up, and he seems to sort of look younger now. Like that white beard, it's still white, but the wrinkles and the like bags under the eyes and things seem to lift a bit as just the spirit of this man seems to have been lifted. And yeah, that is so that's kind of the last conflict at the funeral. It seems as though, you know, the rest of the evening will proceed sort of as it will, right? It'll go on, people will make merry and do things of the like, giving you all a bit of respite to kind of relax and spend your evening. You know, not at sea for a change. It's always good, and things like that.
And are we staying in the castle, or are we staying?
You have been given lodgings within the palace.
Cool.
There are many rooms with finely decorated spaces and comfortable beds and things of the like. Yeah. So,
awesome. Xenon will go and take an effort to go ahead and feed Typhus.
Yeah.
And I'll go on a hunt while we have the room to do so.
Yeah. What do you hunt?
So Typhus, I would imagine, has their preferences, right? They want to be eating hair or bigger, right? Because falcons will take down things that are 3 times bigger than them and eat them, right? Eat the good bits anyways. So I feel like on this island, I'm not sure what they have available to me, but if there are like fawns or...
So you notice something as you go to hunt. You notice that there is not much fauna on this island. You find a lot of sort of just maggot-ridden carcasses of animals that seem to have been poisoned by the polluted waters of this island. And you notice it as you make your way through the countryside, that these rivers are just ridden with sludge and just this unknown material that seems to just be poisoning everything.
You know, then I will instead feed Typhus from my rations.
Yeah.
I will produce a bit of jerky and keep the hood on Typhus and not send him on wing. And I will feed him some dried meats, which he doesn't prefer, but it'll sustain him for the day.
Okay.
And I want to investigate this further.
Okay.
But I almost feel like that's taking a challenge away from the team. I should bring it back to the team.
So there's some information you can find without a contest. We're not going to have a contest with you just on your own.
Right. Yeah,
right.
That's what I don't want. Yeah.
So you can kind of ask me questions and investigate, and then anything that's not a contest, you just get.
Sure.
Right. There's no other resolution mechanic in this game. So if you're investigating and looking through things, I'm just going to give you information.
Well, in that case, looking at these rivers, without going to their sources or anything silly like that, I am familiar with siege warfare. I'm familiar with the concept of, poisoning the waters to shorten the siege, right?
Right.
Dropping corpses in the well, that kind of thing. Is that the nature of this damage to these rivers, or is this something beyond warfare tactics?
Yeah, so you follow the rivers. You find there's several that kind of run from the top of this kind of like mountain. There are like some caves that the rivers run out of. And you track these rivers up to the caves. You find no evidence of corpses other than the fish that have died within the river, and the sort of corpses that sit on its banks of creatures that have drank from this river. The thing you do notice is that many of these creatures, they have that same dark sort of liquid around their lips.
Got it.
And it seems to be some type of, oh, that's a whole heather that disappeared.
We lost a Katrina.
Mike, you must be hardwired in.
I am.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. We'll wait a moment.
Trying to log back in.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I can just move her over here. Boom. I love that zoom update that lets me just drag little boxes around.
Moves them. Yeah. Get them where they need to be.
Right now that's just Heather. So, but later it'll be a face. But yeah, you investigate and you can see that this pollution seems to be coming from the source of these rivers.
Okay.
But you can see that to get to that source, there are these caves that run some distance into this like central mountain.
Got it.
That is the island, and that in order to get to the source, you would have to wade through these polluted waters.
Ooh. Okay.
Just to get there. But that is sort of the situation you uncover.
Yeah.
But not to attempt this sort of on your own.
Right.
But that this is good information to bring.
I don't want to die alone with nobody to remember me. So I'm gonna bring some people along.
That's right. Bring somebody to tell your story. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Though that is good information, and I will not feed typhus of this water or this land. There are no clean rivers on this island?
There is clean water, but all the rivers that you see are like just choked with this sludge. But they're getting clean water from like other springs and things like that have a different source. Okay. Whatever the source of the rivers on this island is, seems to be polluted.
Okay.
Gotcha. Is there anything anyone else would like to do on this first night on the island? Sort of information you'd like to look into or anything like that? No? Okay. So I think we'll go ahead and end the session here. Sort of at this sort of situation of there's so much stuff going on, because what we'll get into after this are the trials, which are sort of challenges that are on this island and opportunities for you to prove yourselves and to earn glory. And I think I would like to cover the trials sort of all in one go. So next time we play, we'll do the trials and the battle, and then the exodus from the island kind of stuff. I think all that would function better as like one episode. So we'll just go ahead and call it here. I do want to, at the risk of, I don't think it really affects anything, but I would like to hand out virtues, which is a thing that normally happens at the end of an island, but I don't think it hurts to do it at the end of every session. And basically these are sort of, it's kind of experience in a way. It doesn't really get you improvements, but it does get you the virtues are basically sort of the things that you have embodied so far during this session. And I don't think it's gonna hurt anything to have a little extra virtue going on, because I think it's just their relative values, not their absolute values, that kind of determine things in your legend. So the way it works is each hero player, so all of you, will record virtues for your character. Based on what each other player says that you embodied the most during this session. And there are 4 virtues, and I'm going to copy and paste those in our Discord chat, just so you know what they mean. So there is acumen, which is the display of knowledge, wisdom, cunning, and wit. Courage, which is a display of bravery, daring, bravado, or vigor. Grace, which is the display of finesse, patience, compassion, or care. And passion, which is the display of love, devotion, fervor, or zeal. So we'll start. I'll just go around on the overlay just for consistency's sake. We'll start with Mike and Phaidros. And each player will assign a virtue to Phaidros, essentially. So I'll start because I am considered a player, and this has been clarified in the message boards even, that the Strife player is considered a player. Or I think that was the Q&A that John Harper and Sean Nittner did about this game. They're like, well, the Strife player is a player, so. So yeah, I think that in this particular session, I think that Phaidros displayed great passion in that love, devotion, fervor, and zeal in communicating to the king, this message from his dead son, and spending the time to think about and really think about the feelings of the people there. I think that passion is a good one. And so now we kind of go around and everybody else gets to do the same thing. So there should be a spot on your character sheet to mark like 1 passion. Cool. So I think on the overlay we have Hilarion. What virtue do you think Phaidros embodied in this session?
I think we're gonna go with grace because of the compassion and care he showed the king. I think we'll go with grace there.
Okay, excellent. So next we have Makaria.
Grace, with compassion and care.
Okay, great. So it's 2 grace and 1 passion. And Xenon, what virtue will you bestow upon Phaidros?
I would say acumen for recalling the details of the shade, the prince, and using those to benefit him a few times. I think that's I'll go with acumen there.
Okay, great. All right, so next up we will consider Hilarion. Boulder-Like Hilarion, and we'll start with Phaidros. What virtue will you bestow upon Hilarion?
I would say courage.
Courage.
'Cause there was a display of bravery or bravado in terms of like just I'm just gonna go talk to the king.
All right.
Be in charge here.
Excellent. I will. Let's see. Let me look at these. I will bestow. I'm going to say grace for Hilarion for the patience aspect, because in that storm, Hilarion grabbed, the sort of guides for the ship and held firm and stood there for probably what was hours. Like some time, just stood firm, and that showed great patience. Didn't waver. I think, yeah, that's what I want to bestow. So next up we have Makaria.
Acumen, for his wisdom of knowing when to step backwards and let someone else speak for him.
Wise leadership, yes. And Xenon.
I'm gonna say courage for his bravado of working the court while Xenon
Right.
was working the stealth operation. That was took a lot to command the whole court as he did so.
Right. Okay. So next up, we are going to bestow virtues on Makaria. Let's start with Hilarion.
I'm going to say acumen for the knowledge and wisdom that she helped to guide Xenon through the castle and how to overcome that task.
Excellent. Xenon.
I would say definitely Grace in her compassion and care for the king when she listened to his woes and went to understand him and helped him with him coming to terms with his new life.
Excellent. Phaidros.
I was going to say Grace for having the finesse for navigating those courtly waters when trying to deal with Harkon.
Okay. Excellent. And I will, let's see. I think the thing that stuck out to me, I would have to say Grace as well. Just for that, like, steadfast, calming presence that was kind of just, had many effects over various characters during this session. Yeah. All right, and last but not least, we have Xenon. And we'll start with Makaria, bestowing virtues.
I will bestow courage for their daring to go by themselves to see the prince's body.
Okay, next, let's see, we're going around. Next will be Phaedrus.
I'll do acumen, because there was some definite cunning involved in his plan his method of getting in there, trying to sneak in. It wasn't just, I'm going to distract him, go through things. Like, no, up through the rafters.
Yeah, I'm going to
Mission
go...
Impossible music playing. Like...
Mission Impossible, but on, like, ancient Greek era instruments.
Right.
Like some real bardcore
Yes.
kind of stuff.
Yes. Flutes and drums.
I think let's go, for me, I want to say Grace for finesse. Not only finesse, but compassion as well, and like being invested in like finding out these things, but also finesse in like physical movement as well as knowing when it's time to kind of investigate and knowing when it's time to maybe just look and see. And then Hilarion, you will bestow the last virtue of the evening.
Well, Hilarion's got to go with courage. I mean, he took all the risk going into that room on his own, and then he went off and did some scouting and all of that. I think some courage and daring, and Hilarion's always for somebody doing a little daring.
Excellent.
Sweet. So Hilarion's looking for the people with courage.
Yep.
Who can I give courage to tonight?
All right. Good. Perfect. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our, give everybody cookies section, as Mike likes to say in Blades. And I think that's technically supposed to be the end of Islands, but once we hit our stride with this game, we'll be covering an island per session. So
cool. Yeah,
this is kind of a special circumstance.
Thing I was kind of feeling was like, oh man, when do I get to interject? Like that was one of the things that I was trying to navigate as a player. Mm-hmm. So I feel like, after one or two of these, it'll be a lot more clear.
Yeah, and this really is a game where it's a lot of like, these are the things you see. How do you approach these challenges kind of deal? And as a player, you can interject with like, ideas if you want to approach something from like a different way. And even if you have an idea about to handle a situation that the game doesn't lay out for you, that's also all on the table. But it is very much like, these things are happening. What are you going to do about it? Okay. Which is a little bit different than you see the message board in town with the quests. Which one do you take?
Right.
Do you want to go talk to the shopkeeper for 30 minutes? There's not really as much of that. It's more like, you're here for a reason. The gods have sent you here. These are the problems. What are you going to do about it? Kind of deal. Yeah. So it's definitely an adjustment for me. I'm trying to find little ways to sort of insert moments for your heroes to kind of pursue things on their own, and do things like that, because a lot of it is like grouped kind of stuff.
Sure.
So yeah, I'll be looking for all of your wonderful feedback on my strife playing. But yeah, that's all I've got for this evening.
Well,
Yay! Thank you, Ethan.
Thank you guys so much. This was lots of fun, and we're gonna be doing this every Saturday. So we're gonna finish up this island. And is it like an island a night, or what do you think?
Yeah. So once we finish this one, it'll be kind of, the idea is an island a session. If I feel like kind of taking more time with it to let you guys kind of roam and kind of have more moments to develop your characters and stuff like that, I might do that. Because I think that's a style of play that this group likes, rather than just being pushed into conflict after conflict after conflict until it's, with no breathing room. I kind of liked the breathing room we had tonight, so
yeah.
We'll see if we stick with that, but
yeah, no, absolutely. So everybody, thanks a ton for being here, and what we're gonna do, obviously we're gonna raid. We always love raiding people, and Cyberwolf, our good buddy Cyberwolf, is playing Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood right now.
Oh man, that sounds like a game.
Video game put on by Werewolf the Apocalypse, and yeah, it does sound like quite the game. Let's see here, other things that High Shelf Gaming is up to. So obviously we're playing this, and then on every other Monday we're playing Shadowrun. So not this coming Monday, but the following Monday we're going to do Shadowrun character creation. Yep. Rich, co-host Rich, is in that. And then let's see here, Wednesday night we're going to be playing our epilogue of Blades in the Dark, our last like actual session of that game, which is sad. I'm excited, but I'm also sad to get to do that. And then on Fridays, every other Friday, so this coming Friday, we're going to be playing Mass Effect, which is super dope. I'm very excited for that. Put on by DTP, who's here in the chat. So I'm going to hit the raid button here for Cyberwolf. And here in just a second, we're all going to go and spend some time with him, drop some emojis in chat, give him some love. Connor is an awesome human. So we want to give him all the love we can. All right, everybody. As always, have fun and play well.
May all your rolls be crits.